Urban Divine Doctor, starting with 9 marriage certificates. Jiang Yu said, "Don't compare yourself to me. In terms of medical skills, I am the best in the world. In terms of martial arts, I am superior in martial arts, and no one of my generation can match me." As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw 9 yellowed marriage certificates. "For free. I'll call the police and have you arrested." "No, please don't, Maram," Jiang Yu said awkwardly. "I really forgot to bring money, I wasn't trying to eat without paying. How about this? I'll wash dishes all day to pay for the noodles. We have enough dishwashers already. People like you who eat without paying deserve to be punished by the law." Her words completely stumped Jiang Yu, and his face turned as bitter as a melon. Just then, the woman at the next table called out, "I'll pay." The owner's wife quickly calculated, "Thank you for your business, the total is 87 yuan. The woman handed over a 100 yuan note and said, "No change needed, just add his bowl of noodles to the bill." She left without looking back. Jiang Yu let out a sigh of relief and thought, "Looks like being handsome really helps." Just as he was basking in his own charm, he suddenly noticed out of the corner of his eye that the kind woman was being followed. As they say, a drop of kindness should be repaid with a fountain. Jiang Yu quickly sprinted out and hopped into the car of the woman who had just paid for him. Chapter 2, Flamboyant. Both the beautiful woman in the back seat and the girl in the driver's seat froze in surprise. "Country bumpkin, what are you doing? Get out right now," the girl scolded, her eyes wide open, as if she were about to devour him. However, Jiang Yu smiled like a spring breeze and said, "I'm mainly here to thank you." He couldn't be sure about the tracking incident yet, so he decided not to mention it. The beautiful woman shifted closer to the window, and her tense expression softened slightly. "Shushan, it's fine," she said softly. She gave the girl a look, signaling her to hold back. After all, it was always better to respond to a smile with a smile. Then she turned her gaze to Jiang Yu and said calmly, "Everyone has their tough times. A bowl of beef noodles doesn't cost much, so you don't need to thank me." Jiang Yu looked at her seriously and replied, "You're a good person, a very beautiful good person." Shushan urged impatiently, "Stop talking so much, get out of the car. If you delay us, I won't be able to compensate you even if I sell you off." Jiang Yu asked, "You're in such a hurry, are you heading to Chenyun City?" "Obviously. This road only leads to Chenyun City." "Well, that's quite a coincidence. I'm heading to Chenyun City as well. How about helping me out and giving me a ride?" Shushan furrowed her brows, "Country bumpkin, if you keep causing trouble, don't blame me for being rude." She appeared weak, but her imposing aura was strong. Jiang Yu looked at the beautiful woman with innocent eyes. "I know you're a good person. You shut the door. Eh? Didn't you want to hitch a ride?" Bang! Jiang Yu quickly slammed the car door shut. "Shushan, start the car." "Country bumpkin, you'd better behave." Shushan threatened, then started the car, speeding away. The beautiful woman leaned against the car window, resting her chin on her hand, eyes closed, and remained silent. Shushan occasionally checked the rearview mirror, worried that Jiang Yu might do something inappropriate to the beautiful woman. 20 minutes later, a black SUV suddenly swerved onto their lane. Bang! Despite Shushan slamming on the brakes, they still collided with the SUV. "Are you blind? How are you driving?" Shushan yelled angrily, ready to get out and argue with the other driver. Jiang Yu immediately reminded her, "Don't get out of the car, trouble is coming." 4 young men got out of the SUV, all wearing black suits. The beautiful woman, Liu Mai, furrowed her brows and whispered, "They are from He Qingyuan." Shushan became even angrier, "He Qingyuan is definitely trying to stop us from signing the deal. I'm going to have a word with them." "Be careful," Jiang Yu warned. Shushan got out of the car, gripping her phone tightly. If they tried to harm them, she would call the police immediately. The leader of the group crossed his arms and stared at Shushan. Shushan appeared to be in her 20s. Though shorter than average, her proportions were excellent, and her physique was well developed, almost spectacular. The leader of the group spoke coldly, "The 2 of you can rest here. It's best if you don't resist, or else." The other 3 men suddenly struck martial arts stances. One assumed a white crane spreads its wings pose, another took a Wing Chun starting stance, and the third adopted a Tai Chi stance. Their movements were decent, showing they had practiced for a few years. Shushan fumed, "If you keep blocking our way, I'll call the police." The leader shrugged indifferently. Go ahead, and while you're at it, call the traffic police to handle the accident. We've got plenty of time. Shushan immediately fell silent, stuck in a dilemma. Calling the police would waste time, but as just one girl, how could she handle for martial artists? The beautiful woman in the car looked anxious, muttering to herself, this is bad. If we can't make it to the contract signing on time, the company's finished. What should we do? What should we do? She anxiously looked around and suddenly noticed that Jiang Yu had disappeared. The next moment. R. Four screams rang out in succession. Jiang Yu was standing in front of the car, holding a heated stone in his hand, looking disdainfully at the four young men lying on the ground. What are you showing off for? All this flashy nonsense. Shushan was stunned. Although any normal person would be finished if hit by a heated stone, Jiang Yu's speed was unbelievable. She hadn't even noticed when Jiang Yu appeared. The beautiful woman, Liu Mai, was the first to snap out of it. She quickly shouted, Shushan, why are you still frozen? Get in the car. Get in. Shushan called to Jiang Yu, then dove into the driver's seat. She glanced up and saw Jiang Yu sitting upright in the back, looking composed. In one smooth motion, she shifted the car into reverse, stepped on the gas, and before the four young men even regained their senses, they were already long gone. Thank you, Liu Mai said, looking at Jiang Yu with clear, pure eyes. You helped me, so I'll help you in return. That's what they call good karma. You're from the mountains, heading to Chenyang City to work, right? I can see you're skilled, and Shushan was planning to hire a bodyguard for me. If you don't mind. No need, I'm not going there to work. Then why are you heading to Chenyang City? To break off my engagement. Shushan rolled her eyes, thinking to herself, you've got some skills, but you don't need to act so smug. You're a country bumpkin, just getting a city girl would be a huge achievement, and you're talking about breaking off engagements. Shushan sarcastically said, they say people from the mountains are simple, but you make it sound like the cows are flying in the sky. Jiang Yu shrugged. He was just telling the truth. If Shushan didn't believe him, he couldn't be bothered to explain. Half an hour later, they arrived at Chenyang City. Shushan stopped at an intersection. We need to rush to the signing. We'll drop you off here. Thank you. Jiang Yu got out of the car, and Liu Mai exchanged a few words with Shushan before handing him 500 yuan and a business card. The business card read, Secretary to the Chairman of Yu Yan Company. It was clear that Liu Mai was the chairman of Yu Yan Company. Liu Mai said softly, this money is my way of thanking you. If you run into any trouble in Chenyang City, you can call Shushan. Jiang Yu didn't hesitate to accept the money. He knew all too well how difficult life could be without money. The marriage certificates only stated that his two fiancées were in Chenyang City, but it didn't list their exact addresses. Finding them would take time, and Jiang Yu needed the money. This money is a loan. I'll repay you once I'm done with my business. After receiving the money and business card, Jiang Yu quickly disappeared into the crowd. Shushan turned to Liu Mai in the back seat and asked with a smile, Sister Huan, didn't you say you have a fiancé too? Can you tell me his name? Liu Mai stared out the window in silence, lost in thought. Chapter 3, Looking Down on Others. Chenyang City was vast, with towering skyscrapers and heavy traffic. In this city with a population of over 10 million, finding a person without any specific direction was a daunting task. Fortunately, the Han family was well known in Chenyang City. The Han family's Han group ranked among the top 10 in the city, and as the daughter of the Han family, Han Ying was a household name. Soon, Jiang Yu learned the Han family's residence Guanhu residence. It was the most luxurious villa district in Chenyang City, developed from a mountain in the city, with villas by the lake. Villas here cost upwards of 100 million, and those who lived here were either wealthy or noble. Naturally, security measures were tight. Jiang Yu found himself stuck at the entrance, his patience wearing thin, but the security guard wouldn't let him in. You're not the first to claim to be Miss Han's friend. There are at least 3 to 5 people every day who say that, but you're the first to come up with something so ridiculous, the middle-aged security guard said, eyeing him with a hint of disbelief. Brother, I'm not lying. Han Ying really is my fiancée, Jiang Yu pleaded again. The guard gave him a glance. Cut it out. Even if you're making up stories, at least make them believable. Who doesn't he know about young Master Zhao from Dingxing Group and Miss Han's relationship? If you were her fiancé, what does that make Zhao? Zhao? The one who paid for everything at the banquet. What? You don't even know who Zhao is. The security guard, seeing Jiang Yu's shabby clothes and confused expression, couldn't he help but educate him. Zhao Shoror, young master Zhao of Dingxing Group, was one of Tianyin City's most famous rich second-generation heirs. He was generous and well-liked. There were rumors lately that the Han family and Zhao family were preparing to form an alliance through marriage, powerful families uniting. Zhao Shoror and Han Ying weren't exactly a perfect couple, but they were certainly a well-matched pair in terms of social standing. Looking at Jiang Yu, dressed in clothes worth no more than 100, the idea that he could even dream of marrying into the Han family seemed absurd. Jiang Yu, however, felt relieved. If the Han family was already planning to form an alliance with the Zhao family, then the annulment of his engagement should be smooth. But the question was, how could he get inside? Brother, please let me in. I'm not a bad guy. If it's really an issue, you can come with me, Jiang Yu said, offering 100 yuan. The guard eyed the money and shook his head. 100 yuan? You think I'm some beggar? Just then, a young man in his 20s walked out of the guard booth, sneering at Jiang Yu. Country bumpkin, get out of here. Do you even know where this is? People like you don't belong here. Jiang Yu frowned. What's that supposed to mean? People like me. The young guard looked down on him with contempt, saying, What, you think you can just waltz in here? Scram before I make you regret it. Jiang Yu gave him a cold smile. Make me regret it. I'll be waiting to see how you plan to do that. The young guard, growing more arrogant, raised his hand and pushed Jiang Yu roughly. Get lost, you poor loser. Jiang Yu stepped back with a strange grin, then suddenly collapsed to the ground with a loud thud. Damn it, are you trying to scam me? Do you even know who I am? The young man, Wang Yu, fumed, ready to kick Jiang Yu while he was down. Fortunately, the middle-aged guard stepped in, holding Wang Yu back. Wang Yu, stop. Don't do anything rash. Wang Yu spat, still furious. Get up, now. You think you can scam me? You're lucky I don't have you arrested. One call and your life's over. But Jiang Yu didn't respond. He silently activated some acupuncture points on his body, then began convulsing, foam spilling from his mouth. The middle-aged guard was immediately alarmed. Wang Yu, you didn't push him too hard, did you? This might be serious. Wang Yu's face paled. No way. I just gave him a small push. How could he be so weak? Forget it, call an ambulance. No way. If he goes to the hospital, he'll definitely sue me. You know how these people are. Well, your brother's a big shot in T-Plate Street. No one will dare mess with you, but let us get him help first. If he really dies, no amount of money will fix it. Just then, a black business car pulled up at the entrance, and the window slowly rolled down. What's going on? Inside the car was a middle-aged man in a sharp suit, Han Tianming, the chairman of Han Group and Han Ying's father. Wang Yu, still holding Jiang Yu, tried to explain. Nothing, Mr. Han. Just a vagrant claiming to be your daughter's fiancé. We didn't let him in, but now he's lying here trying to scam us. Jiang Yu, who had been twitching on the ground just moments ago, suddenly sprang to his feet with surprising agility. He walked straight towards Han Tianming. Wang Yu froze, then his face contorted with rage. Are you kidding me? Mr. Han, I need to speak with you about something, Jiang Yu said, handing over the marriage contract. Wang Yu, furious, grabbed Jiang Yu by the collar. You're a country bumpkin. I'll deal with you. Han Tianming furrowed his brow. Are you a disciple of old Master Zhang? Jiang Yu nodded. Get in the car, Han Tianming said. Wang Yu's mind raced as he watched them drive off. Could it be that Jiang Yu really was Han Ying's fiancé? If that were true, he'd just made a massive mistake. Inside the car, Jiang Yu explained his purpose to Han Tianming. Yet, Han Tianming remained silent, only instructing him to wait in the living room while he went upstairs to change clothes. An hour passed. Jiang Yu's patience had worn thin, and he stood up, addressing the housekeeper. Please tell Mr. Han that since Miss Han is already promised to someone, I don't want to disrupt her engagement. I'm here to cancel my marriage contract with the Han family. Just then, a woman's voice came from upstairs. Who said my daughter is already promised to someone? Chapter 4. I just want to break off the engagement. She was a graceful woman, full of mature charm. At this moment, she was walking slowly down the stairs, staring at Jiang Yu with her peach blossom eyes. Who are you? Jiang Yu looked the woman up and down and felt that she was somewhat similar to Han Qianming. My name is Han Qiong, and I'm Han Ying's aunt. Han Qiong sat lazily on the sofa, withdrew her gaze, and smoothed her hair. She is 33 years old this year, but she looks very young and her every move reveals charm. She is not only good-looking, but also a strong woman. She has contributed at least 3/4 to the success of the Han Group today. Beautiful women can always attract men's attention, and Jiang Yu is no exception. He secretly thought that since Han Ying's aunt was so beautiful, Han Ying shouldn't be much worse. Are you Han Ying's fiancé? Han Qiong picked up the marriage certificate on the coffee table and took a look at it. Then he said, time flies. In a blink of an eye, the old doctor's apprentice has grown up so much. Do you know me? 15 years ago, the old doctor brought you here and saved my father from the brink of death. I was there when the two of you made the engagement. Don't you remember me? Jiang Yu was speechless. Who could remember you? Since I was a child, I have traveled around the world with the old man to treat patients. I have come into contact with at least 8,000 people. Besides, I was only 3 years old at that time. There is no way I could remember you. 15 years ago, Han Qiong was in her prime and was one of the most beautiful women in Qianyan City, with countless suitors. If Jiang Yu was 13 years old at that time, he would definitely remember this beauty. He said politely, I seem to have some impression. Since you are Han Ying's aunt. Aunt. Han Qiong's face suddenly darkened and he interrupted Jiang Yu, why, do I look old? On the contrary, you look very young. Then you still call me auntie. What's wrong? Jiang Yu shrugged. If it was a stranger, he would definitely call her sister politely. But you are Han Ying's aunt. No matter how young you are, it's not wrong for me to call you auntie, okay? Remember, you have to call me sister from now on, before you enter my Han family. It won't be too late to change your words after you enter the Han family. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Jiang Yu had no intention of entering the Han family, so it didn't matter what he called. I have finished what I have to say. I have also left the marriage certificate. Please return the marriage certificate in your hands to me. I have something else to do, so I will not bother you any further. You are the future son-in-law of the Han family, how can you say it's a disturbance? Jiang Yu was confused at the time. What did Han Qiong mean by this? Don't look at me with such incredible eyes. The story between our Han Ying and Zhao Shuor is completely false. You are the legitimate son-in-law of our Han family. Auntie, you are kidding me. Look at me like this. How can I be worthy of the eldest daughter of the Han family? Call me sister. Sister, I'm busy going to the next family to cancel the engagement. I'll leave my marriage certificate here to show my sincerity. I'll come back to get the marriage certificate in your hands next time. Goodbye. Jiang Yu hurriedly fled the Han family villa. Judging from Han Qiong's attitude, if he stayed for a while longer, he and Han Ying would probably be able to set the wedding date. As soon as he left, Han Qianming went downstairs. Han Qiong, you'd better not interfere in Ying's affairs. Han Qianming's tone was a little cold, and the relationship between the brother and sister was not so harmonious. Brother, our son-in-law came to visit us, and you brought him back but then avoided him. Isn't that a bit too much? I have my own plans, you don't have to worry about them. I understand what you mean. You brought him back because you were afraid that he would make a fuss at the door. But Dad is not dead yet, so you dare not break off the engagement directly. You want to delay it for a few days, and when Dad dies, you can completely break off the engagement that Dad made, and then let Han Ying marry into the Zhao family. So what? Can't I make the decision about my daughter's affairs? Humph, ungrateful. The old doctor did a favor to my family. Dad made the engagement on impulse without considering Ying's feelings. I, Han Qianming, am not an ungrateful person. I can give him any amount of money he wants, but it is absolutely impossible for Yinger to marry him. Har har, you speak better than you sing. I almost thought you were the best father in the world. Not only did you lie to outsiders, but you also considered Ying's feelings. Did you ask for her opinion on letting her marry into the Zhao family? Zhao Shuor and Ying are a perfect match, what can she have any objection to? If she had no objection, could she have insisted on moving out a week ago? Han Qiong put away the marriage certificate. Han Qianming took 2 steps forward and grabbed Han Qiong's wrist. Give me the marriage certificate. What? You want to burn the marriage certificate and pretend that this marriage doesn't exist? Brother, I won't let you get what you want. She shook off Han Qianming, went to the garage and drove away in a red Ferrari. Han Qianming made a phone call and asked someone to follow Han Qiong. Jiang Yu didn't expect that breaking off the engagement would be so difficult, and he ran away in shame. Wang Yu, who was at the gate, watched Jiang Yu leave and nodded, "Take care, brother. Come by often when you have time." He wiped the sweat from his forehead, fearing that Jiang Yu would come after him later. "Brother Yu, why are you being so polite to him?" A patrolling security guard came over and glanced at Jiang Yu with disdain. "Get out of the way. He's the son-in-law of the Han family. I can't afford to offend him." "Brother Yu, you worry too much. I just saw him run away from the Han family with my own eyes. The Han family is well known in Chenyun City. Why would they marry Miss Han to a country bumpkin? Did you see it clearly?" "Absolutely true." Hearing this, Wang Yu straightened up immediately and said with a dark face, "That's easy. This country bumpkin dared to play tricks on me before. I'll see if I can't kill him." He, brother Yu, if we can deal with that guy, it can be regarded as helping the Han family to solve a problem. If we can get on the high branch of the Han family, we will definitely make a fortune in the future. That makes sense. Please help me watch over here. I'll go find my brother right away. As soon as Wang Yu left, Han Qiong drove out in his Ferrari. Jiang Yu ran down the mountain, but he was not as fast as the sports car and was soon caught up by Han Qiong. Beep. Han Qiong honked the horn and rolled down the window. "Get in the car." Jiang Yu was dumbfounded. "What are you still standing there for? I'm sorry to bother you. You are the future son-in-law of my Han family. It's no trouble at all. You came all the way here, so I should at least show my hospitality, right? Sister, I'm here to break off the engagement. There's no need for you to be so enthusiastic. Don't speak so early. Our Yinger is a top beauty in Chenyun City. I left my marriage certificate behind, so. Here." Han Qiong threw the marriage certificate directly to Jiang Yu. "No need to thank me." Jiang Yu forced out a smile that was uglier than crying and said, "Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone in the community. I just want to cancel the engagement. Is it that difficult?" Chapter 5 Farewell. It turns out that getting entangled with Han Qiong was not a wise move. Jiang Yu insisted on walking down the mountain, while Han Qiong followed slowly in her car. She had a wide network of contacts and recognized several cars that passed by. When others asked her what she was doing, she simply said that she was sending Han Ying's fiancé down the mountain. In the end, Jiang Yu gave in and got into Han Qiong's car. "Sister, is it necessary to make it known to everyone?" Han Qiong stepped on the accelerator and said in a proud tone, "It's only a matter of time. I told you, I'm here to break off the engagement. You won't think so when you meet Yinger. The key is that there is a huge gap between our social statuses. I can't afford to be with you. Don't underestimate yourself. You are the only disciple of Dr. Zhang. I am poor. It doesn't matter. Our Han family is rich. You just need to be a pretty boy quietly." What a joke. I don't eat free food. I can fund you to open a clinic. I believe that with your medical skills, it will not be difficult for you to support yourself. No more chatting. Jiang Yu folded his arms, leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes to rest. He really couldn't understand Han Qiong's train of thought. Logically speaking, as a poor boy like me who came with a marriage proposal, I should have been treated coldly, but Han Qiong seemed to be a little too enthusiastic. "You are Han Ying's aunt after all, there is no need to push your niece into the fire pit, right?" About 10 minutes later, the car suddenly slowed down. Jiang Yu opened his eyes and found that Han Qiong's cheeks were covered with cold sweat, her face was a little pale, and one hand was gently rubbing her lower abdomen. "Seeing you like this, let's not go to eat. Find a place to have a good rest." As a miracle doctor, Jiang Yu naturally saw the cause of Han Qiong's illness at a glance, which was a very common dysmenorrhea. "It's okay, go get me some ibuprofen." She parked her car in front of a drugstore and leaned back in her seat, looking very miserable. "Just taking painkillers won't work. You should go to the hospital. I've been to many hospitals, but none of them can cure me." This happens every month. Please go buy me some medicine. Jiang Yu didn't say anything, got out of the car and entered the pharmacy, and opened the driver's door 5 minutes later. Get off. Where's the medicine? Don't forget that I am also a doctor. I can help you with treatment. With Jiang Yu's support, the two came to a hotel next to the pharmacy. Han Qiong's face became more and more ugly. As an aunt, how could she go into a hotel with her niece's fiancé? But she felt so uncomfortable and really wanted to have a bed to lie down on. Jiang Yu helped her into the room. Han Qiong was lying on the bed, holding her lower abdomen, her body curled up, and her face was covered with cold sweat. Jiang Yu, you should buy me some painkillers. I've already told you I'm a doctor, and your dysmenorrhea has probably been a chronic problem for several years. You don't want to have this kind of pain every month, do you? The implication is that he can cure Han Qiong's illness. Didn't you say you believed in my medical skills? He simply disinfected the silver needles he bought from the pharmacy, and then said, no coat. Can't wear it. Han Qiong was in a difficult situation. Don't let your imagination run wild. I'm going to give you acupuncture. Have you ever seen acupuncture through clothes? To be honest, Han Qiong didn't really believe in Jiang Yu's medical skills. He was too young. If it was the old Dr. Zhang, she would definitely do everything without saying a word. Do you really want to keep feeling the pain? Han Qiong couldn't bear it any longer. She felt like her lower abdomen was stabbed with a knife every time she moved. Good. Her voice was weak and feeble. With the consent of the parties concerned. As a doctor, Jiang Yu had no distractions and started acupuncture immediately. Kindness. As the needle dropped, Han Qiong bit her lips. It was painful when the needle tip first pierced her skin, but soon she felt a comfortable and unobstructed feeling, which made her unable to control herself. Jiang Yu said softly, Chinese medicine often says that pain means obstruction, and pain goes away if the blood is flowing smoothly. Dysmenorrhea is usually caused by stagnation of qi and blood stasis, which results in poor menstrual blood flow. If you don't pay attention to it at the beginning, it will become a disease over time. You need to slowly unblock it. As he spoke, several needles had been inserted and Han Qiong's pain was obviously relieved. Can you cure my menstrual cramps completely? Of course, using our Bakushan exclusive acupuncture and massage, I guarantee that you will be cured in 7 courses of treatment. What are you doing? Han Qiong suddenly screamed because she felt a substantial touch on her lower abdomen. I've already said that you have to cooperate with the massage. Don't worry, you are my elder after all, and I won't have any improper thoughts about you. What do you mean, sister? I am not worthy of your attention. Jiang Yu's words made Han Qiong very dissatisfied. Although she was a little older, she was still a popular woman in Chenyan City. Of course not. Jiang Yu immediately changed the subject. Sister, I will help you cure your disease, can you do me a favor too? About the engagement with Han Ying. That's right. Don't worry, I will help you even if you don't tell me. I will take care of this matter. It's a deal. Jiang Yu was in a good mood and worked even harder. His unique technique made Han Qiong feel unprecedented comfort. The acupuncture and massage process lasted for 15 minutes. Han Qiong's pain disappeared completely, her face was flushed, and there was even a hint of unsatisfied feeling in her eyes. Sister, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but you should find a boyfriend. Jiang Yu threw the silver needle into the trash can. Han Qiong put on her clothes and said unhappily, what do you mean? Jiang Yu said, sometimes, the harmony of yin and yang is also very important. There is a theory of yin and yang in traditional Chinese medicine. Hey, don't preach to me, take care of your own business first. She glanced at Jiang Yu, who quickly responded, okay, take care of my business first. I'll call Ying and you two can meet and get to know each other today. Sister, I think this is not necessary, right? Don't feel pressured. Han Ying is not the kind of person who despises the poor and loves the rich. I will help you with some advice. I promise to make her fall in love with you. What? Jiang Yu was unhappy at the time. Sister, it's not very kind to go back on your words. Didn't you ask me to help you? I asked you to help me break off the engagement, not to bring us together. Break off the engagement? Absolutely not. Han Qiong's determination made Jiang Yu's mouth twisted with anger. If we don't agree, we have to cancel this marriage. Goodbye. If you dare walk out of this door, I will make you spend the rest of your life in prison. Threaten me. Sorry, I won't take it. Really? The hotel has surveillance cameras. If I call the police and say you drugged me and are plotting something bad, do you think you'll be safe? Do you have to be so mean? Jiang Yu feels aggrieved. Han Qiong was helped in by him. If we only watched the surveillance video, he really couldn't explain himself. Chapter 6: The Talker. Jiang Yu never expected that Han Qiong would use this method to threaten him. The beautiful vision he had when going down the mountain seemed to have vanished into thin air. Sister, what do you like about me? Can't I change? His tone was pleading, which surprised Han Qiong. Our Yinger has good looks, a good figure, and money. There are so many young men in Chenyang City who are obsessed with her. Why do you insist on breaking off the engagement? I have my reasons. I don't want to hear your reasons. The marriage contract is in duplicate. It is impossible for you to unilaterally break the contract. If it gets out, where will my Han family put its face? This is exactly what is giving Jiang Yu a headache. The engagement is in duplicate. He could just pretend that the 9-point engagement didn't exist and go find Dudu directly, but what if one of the 9 fiancés came to his house with the engagement and made a scene? With Dudu's temper, she would probably never see him again in her life. Aren't you worried that I'm married? Impossible. I know the character of Dr. Zhang. You will never get married as long as the engagement is still in place. What a hassle. Jiang Yu secretly cursed the old man 800 times. Isn't this clearly setting a trap for him? If he wanted to marry any of his 9 fiancés, he would have to travel all over the country to cancel his other engagements. Jiang Yu looked unhappy, but Han Qiong was quite pleased. Suddenly, Han Qiong's phone rang. After answering the call, her face immediately became serious. Okay, I'll be there right away. After hanging up the phone, she said to Jiang Yu, I have something to deal with right away. You can stay in this hotel for the time being. Give me your phone number. I don't have a phone. So I called the police. You? Jiang Yu gritted his teeth and reluctantly handed over his brick-like, unknown brand cell phone. Han Qiong saved his number and waved his phone, saying, keep in touch anytime. You don't have to worry about the cost of food and lodging. Just stay here with peace of mind. Han Qiong walked away, and Jiang Yu muttered quietly, you still have some conscience. Her arrangement made Jiang Yu's impression of her increase a little. The Han family's cancellation of the engagement had to be put on hold temporarily. As things were not going well, Jiang Yu changed his target and decided to go to the Wen family to cancel the engagement first. Oh, it seems I have to find a temporary job. Since the breakup of the engagement went wrong, he was destined to stay in Chenyang City for a long time, and the 500 yuan that Wen Yihan lent him would not last for more than a few days. After resting for a night in their hotel, he went out early the next morning to inquire about the Wen family's address and find a job. The Wen family's reputation in Chenyang City is not as good as the Han family. Jiang Yu asked more than a dozen passers-by but still couldn't find any clues. Unconsciously, they walked to the bottom of a building. Jiang Yu was about to find someone to ask again, but he looked up and found that he was downstairs of Yu Yan Company. He suddenly remembered what Wen Yihan had said to him before, and immediately took out his phone to contact Xu Xin. Hello, who is this? It's me, Jiang Yu. We met yesterday. Mr. Wen asked me to be his bodyguard. I thought about it all night and decided not to let Mr. Wen down. Where are you? Xu Xin's tone sounded a little anxious. It's just downstairs from your company. Wait for me, I'll be down right away. In less than 5 minutes, Xu Xin hurried down, carrying a suitcase, looking hurried and anxious. Get in the car. Without saying a word, Xu Xin dragged him into a black car. What's going on? Jiang Yu was confused. Don't you want to be Mr. Wen's bodyguard? We just happen to have something urgent to do right now and need your help. The driver turned around and frowned. Secretary Xu, is this person reliable? He is from the Black Tiger Hall. Xu Xin said, bringing him along is just to help with the occasion. What happened? President Wen was blocked by the Black Tiger Hall. On their way, Jiang Yu learned that Xu Xin's company was in competition with a man named He Qingyuan, but He Qingyuan was a despicable person. When they failed to stop them from signing the contract, they asked people from the Black Tiger Hall in Chenyang City to block President Wen and demand 3 million. This is considered kidnapping. Call the police immediately. It's not that simple. Shushan said, the black tiger hole can survive in Chenyan City, but it won't be so easy for people to catch it. I won't know the specific situation until I get there. 10 minutes later, they arrived at a club and went straight to the top floor. Don't talk for a while. I'll find a way to deal with Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu is the leader of the Black Tiger Hall. He is a ruthless person and is well known in the underworld. Shushan was very nervous because Jiang Yu wanted 3 million and he only brought 1 million. The elevator opened, and 8 tattooed young men stood on both sides of the corridor, staring at them eagerly. Shushan swallowed with a gurgle, very nervous. Wow, it's quite a big battle. Jiang Yu joked and walked straight to the room in front. Shushan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, caught up with him, and reminded him again, remember, don't talk nonsense later. If you annoy Jiang Yu, it won't be solved with just 1 million. There were about 12 people in the room. The leader was as burly as a tiger, with a cigar in his mouth, and his younger brothers were lined up behind him. He is Jiang Yu, the leader of the Black Tiger Hall. Wen Yihan was sitting next to Jiang Yu. She was not injured and looked relatively calm. On the coffee table in front of her was a red cloth, and on top of it was a pile of broken porcelain pieces. Wen Yihan was very surprised when he saw Jiang Yu. He didn't expect that he would come with Shushan. Did you bring the money? Jiang Yu's voice is very low and his aura is very strong. I brought it. Shushan patted his suitcase. Jiang Yu smiled and looked at Mr. Wen, who was full of anger. Mr. Wen, don't be angry. What you broke was a Yuan dynasty blue and white porcelain that I bought from a friend at a high price. I asked you for 3 million, but I didn't cheat you a penny more. Jiang Yu, don't think I don't know what tricks you are playing. Can this pile of junk of yours be worth 3 million? Worth it, of course it's worth it. Jiang Yu suddenly stepped forward and said leisurely, it looks like this is a blue and white underglaze red from the Yuan dynasty. Brother Hu is asking for 3 million, which is really a good price. Shushan was dumbfounded on the spot and almost burst into curse. Which side are you on? Chapter 7, Don't touch money that doesn't belong to you. Jiang Yu successfully attracted Jiang Yu's attention. Although he seemed to be speaking for Jiang Yu did not appreciate it. Get lost, do you have the right to speak here? Jiang Yu shouted angrily, murderous intent in his eyes. But Jiang Yu acted as if he didn't hear anything. He picked up the ceramic fragments on the red cloth and said to himself, this is the first time I've seen blue and white underglaze red in person. Hey, there's words written on it. He picked up a piece of the fragment and read, made in the 13th year of the Republic of China. Brother Hu, you were obviously cheated by your friend. Didn't you take a look at the eye-catching signature when you bought it? What a pity. I thought it was the genuine blue and white underglaze red from the Yuan dynasty. Jiang Yu shook his head and sighed. Shushan kept winking at him and whispered, come here, stop talking. How could they not know Jiang Yu's tricks? But the people from the Black Tiger Hall were not easy to deal with, so they could only spend money to avoid disaster. Shushan was almost crying. I told you not to talk, but you not only talked, but also exposed Jiang Yu in person. You really want to die. She hurriedly said, Brother Hu, don't be angry. He came from the mountains and doesn't know much. Don't bother with him. We will pay for the money. You should pay for breaking someone's things. Don't take advantage of Brother Tiger. As he spoke, he placed the 500 yuan that Wen Yihan had lent him earlier on the table. Brother Hu, this money is enough to buy 3 pieces of your porcelain. Damn, even porcelain from the Republic of China would cost more than this. One little brother couldn't bear it any longer. Jiang Yu said leisurely, it's signed in the 13th year of the Republic of China, but that doesn't mean it was really made during the Republic of China. Don't you know how much you spent on this ceramic? Brother. Shushan went over and pulled Jiang Yu away, begging, you are my brother, okay? I beg you to stop talking. Look at Brother Hu, he is almost eating people. Jiang Yu's face was full of black lines. If you dare to say another word, I will make you speechless for the rest of your life. As soon as he finished speaking, the younger brother next to him took out a dagger and played with it. Jiang Yu didn't care. Threaten me. I'm not afraid of threats. I've left the compensation money here. It's up to you to take it or not. Then, he winked at Mr. Wen and said, Mr. Wen, let's go. Leave? Can we leave? Shushan almost wanted to strangle Jiang Yu to death. There were 18 people in the room and the corridor. Want to leave? You had to lie down to leave. She immediately put the suitcase on the table and said humbly, Brother Hu, this is 1 million, please accept it. My friend is ignorant, please don't bother with him. No one can resist money, but 1 million. What? Did I not explain clearly, or did Premier Wen miscommunicate? Brother Hu, our company is very short of funds right now, and we really can't come up with any more money. 1 million is not impossible. You can discuss it among yourself and leave 2 hands, which can be worth 2 million. Hearing this, the driver immediately took 2 steps back, sweating profusely from fear. Brother Hu, please let me think of a solution. I'll give you another hour. Jiang Yu shook off the ash from his cigarette and motioned for a younger brother to take the suitcase over. Suddenly, a slight sound of breaking through the air was heard, followed by a scream. As soon as the young man's hand touched the suitcase, it was pierced by a branch of a potted plant and blood gushed out. This scene stunned everyone and frightened Shushan so much that her legs went weak. Because it was Jiang Yu who did it, this is tantamount to declaring war on Jiang Yu. Shushan regretted so much that she wanted to slap herself twice. Why could she not think straight and let this jerk come along? Now that I have hurt Jiang Yu's little brother, won't he be asking for a huge reward? Besides, they can't expect to walk out safely today. Jiang Yu's face was grim and full of murderous intent. However, Jiang Yu's expression was even colder than his. Keep your hands to yourself. Don't touch money that doesn't belong to you. His tone was somber that it sent chills down one's spine. You are the leader of the Black Tiger Hall, Jiang Yu, right? Look carefully, the 500 yuan on the table is yours. He. Jiang Yu smiled grimly, put out his cigarette, and slowly stood up. In Chenyan City, no one has dared to talk to me like this for a long time. Jiang Yu walked to the bedside, relit a cigar, and said lightly, tear off his 2 arms. Damn it, I've been putting up with you for so long. The man playing with the dagger was the first to rush up, with a fierce momentum, and kicked up. Bang! However, Jiang Yu only used a simple knee strike, and the younger brother was defeated on the spot. He fell to the ground with his facial features twisted in pain. President Wen rushed forward with a briefcase in his hand and grabbed Jiang Yu. Run! But at this time, the people in the corridor outside who heard the noise had already blocked the door. Shushan cursed, we are being killed by you, a country bumpkin. However, Jiang Yu was like a savage beast, knocking the 2 people at the door away and creating a way for their survival. Shushan was stunned. She had no time to be shocked by Jiang Yu's brute strength and immediately ran out at the speed of a 100-meter sprint. Jiang Yu ran to the stairs and stopped. You go first, I'll take care of the aftermath. He has the aura of a single man standing against the enemy. Unexpectedly, Premier Wen grabbed his hand and refused to let go. Don't try to be a hero, there are more than a dozen of them, run. He was dragged downstairs by Premier Wen. Hey, there are only a dozen people, what are you afraid of? Only a dozen. Shushan was speechless. Have you, a country bumpkin, never been beaten by society? Just as the gang of brothers rushed to the stairs, Jiang Yu's voice came, don't chase them. Boss, why don't you chase them? If we let them run away like this, won't our Black Tiger Hall be laughed at? Jiang Yu took a deep puff of cigarette. Haven't you figured it out yet? That guy is a martial artist. You are no match for him. So, is that the end of it? Go find me Iron Fist Wang Chilai. Boss, we don't need Brother Chi to take action to deal with that kid, right? Are you teaching me how to do things? Jiang Yu's face darkened. No, I don't dare. I'll go find Brother Chi right now. Then, what about that bitch named Wen? Don't worry, wait until Wang Chi has dealt with that guy, then we can have fun with her. Jiang Yu and his group rushed to the basement and drove away in a hurry. After sitting in the car, President Wen breathed a sigh of relief. Shushan was extremely worried, it's over. We have completely offended the Black Tiger Hall. We will have no good days from now on. Jiang Yu said calmly, isn't he just a gangster? What's so scary about him? Shushan angrily said, what do you know? It's all your fault today. President Wen glanced at Shushan and said, Shushan, he saved me today, so be careful with your attitude when you speak. Boss Wen, you know who Jiang Yu is. Will he let this go? No, I have to hire 2 bodyguards for you right away to protect you 24 hours a day. Just hire me. Jiang Yu's eyes lit up, as for salary, I can give you a friendly price. Chapter 8 Answering the Phone. Jiang Yu's current money is all given by Henqiong, but he still thinks it's more comfortable to spend the money he earns himself. But Shushan almost kicked Jiang Yu out of the car. Friendly price? If it weren't for you, would this situation have happened? Bodyguards. Shushan said, take care of yourself first. Do you think Jin Hu will let you go? At this time, the driver spoke up, Secretary Shu, I just saw that this young man seems to be quite skilled. The one playing with the knife is also a fierce general under Jin Hu. Wasn't he also defeated by this young man in one move? At this time, several people recalled the details just now, and threw a piece of it casually, which jumped straight through the palm of the person, knocked one person down with one move, and knocked two strong men weighing 300 kilograms in total away with a collision. Moreover, when Yihan and Shushan knew yesterday that Jiang Yu was indeed capable. When Yihan nodded and said, thank you for your hard work these past 2 days. How about I give you 500 yuan as a salary? $500 a month. Jiang Yu was in a dilemma. Although he was willing to give a friendly price, 500 was too low. President Wen chuckled, am I that stingy? I meant 500 a day. Make a deal. Jiang Yu made the decision on the spot without even thinking. Boss Wen, please, reconsider this. Shushan advised, being a personal bodyguard is not something that just anyone can do. There is a difference between a bodyguard and a personal bodyguard. Shushan, have you forgotten that we were intercepted by He Yuan's men on the day we returned to Chenyan City? I believe he has the ability to protect me. Shushan was not questioning Jiang Yu's ability, but she felt uncomfortable having Jiang Yu as her personal bodyguard. But Premier Wen has already made up his mind, and his opposition seems a little pale. The driver took them back to Mr. Wen's residence. Although it was not as good as Guanhuju, it was also a high-end community. Boss Wen, please don't come back to the company for the next 2 days. I'll ask someone to talk to the Black Tiger Hall about their movements and see if we can have a peaceful negotiation. Shushan sent them to the door of Mr. Wen's house, and then lowered her voice and whispered in Jiang Yu's ear, if you dare to do anything inappropriate to Mr. Wen, I will not forgive you. President Wen's home has 2 bedrooms and a living room, and is very warmly decorated. You can sleep in the guest room these days. Just let me know if you need anything. Jiang Yu sat on the sofa and picked up an apple and started eating it. Boss Wen, we've only known each other for a short time. Are you really willing to let me live in the same room with you? You have helped me twice, and I believe in your character. President Wen smiled sweetly, I am very good at judging people. She took a change of clothes from the bedroom and said, I'm going to take a shower first, you can do whatever you want. Soon there was a sound of water splashing in the bathroom, but the bathroom door was opened a crack. After Jiang Yu discovered it, he walked over neither slowly nor quickly. Behind the door, President Wen stood quietly without taking off any of his clothes. After hearing Jiang Yu's footsteps, she also became nervous. She was testing Jiang Yu. Although she said she believed in Jiang Yu, one could never tell a person's true heart from his appearance. You're so careless that you don't even close the shower door. Jiang Yu helped her close the bathroom door, muttered to himself, then returned to the sofa and turned on the TV. Mr. Wen behind the bathroom door showed a satisfied smile with an appreciation, then locked the door and started taking a shower. Ding ling ling. She suddenly rang the phone number of President Wen, and put it on the coffee table before taking a shower. Caller ID, Dad. Boss Wen, your phone number. Don't worry, I'll be back in a minute. Jiang Yu ignored it, but the phone kept ringing as if it was demanding his life, and he finally couldn't help but answer it. Ewan, what's going on? Why are you answering the phone now? On the other end of the phone, Wen Yihan's father was obviously a little angry. Jiang Yu explained, Uncle, don't be angry, your daughter is taking a bath. Bath. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Uncle, are you listening? I said your daughter is taking a bath. I heard it, there's no need for you to repeat it again. There was a roar from the other end of the phone, Boy, who are you? What is your relationship with my Yi Huan? How far have you two progressed now? These 3 fatal questions left Jiang Yu confused. Your daughter was just taking a bath. Is it necessary to have such a fantasy? Jiang Yu was about to explain when Yi Huan's father yelled on the phone, Boy, I'm warning you, you'd better stay away from my daughter. She's engaged. After saying that, the other party hung up the phone without giving Jiang Yu any chance to explain. So short-tempered. Jiang Yu put down the phone and muttered to himself, but he didn't take Wen Yihan's father's words to heart. Not long after, when Yihan walked out of the bathroom, wearing lavender pajamas, her slender curves faintly visible. Her hair was wet and her face was rosy, like a lotus in clear water. She wiped her hair with a towel and asked, "Who called just now?" "Your dad, I answered it for you. He said you were taking a shower." Har. When Yihan's eyes widened, "My dad, what did he say?" "He yelled at me and asked me how far I had come with you." "Why didn't you explain it to him?" "I wanted to explain, but your dad hung up the phone right after he finished speaking. I didn't expect you were also engaged. That engagement was made by my grandfather. It has nothing to do with me. I will never acknowledge it." She was clear and resolute about her engagement. "But my dad is a very old-fashioned person. He is very strict with me about my engagement. He must have driven over here by now. You'd better hide for now." Bang, bang, bang. There was a sudden violent knock on the door, accompanied by the roar of Wen Yihan's father. "Yvonne, open the door, open it for me right now. It's over, it's over. Why did my dad come so quickly? What should I do?" She paced back and forth anxiously. "We are both innocent, right? Can't you just explain it to him directly?" "How do you explain?" "Say you're my bodyguard. If he knew about the Black Tiger Hall, he would be even more worried." His father was still knocking on the door fiercely. "Open the door for me quickly, 1 minute. If you don't open the door within 1 minute, you can't recognize me as your father. Yvonne, do you hear me? Open the door for me immediately. You, go hide in my closet." Wen Yihan pushed Jiang Yu anxiously. "Wen Yihan, have you grown wings now? You even dare to reject me?" "Dad, I'm changing my clothes. I'll be right there to open the door for you." She had just pushed Jiang Yu 2 steps when the door suddenly opened. The 6 eyes met, and the room fell into deathly silence. Chapter 9. Wen Fuyao. Wen Yihan, who was only wearing pajamas, instantly blushed to her ears. "You guys." Father Wen gritted his teeth, his eyes seemed to be filled with rage. Jiang Yu felt a little embarrassed and tried hard to force a smile towards Father Wen. Wen Yihan hurriedly explained, "Dad, calm down, things are not what you think." "How can I be calm?" Father Wen roared, Wen Yihan, have you forgotten that you are still engaged? If you do this, where will I put my old face?" "Dad, don't mention the engagement to me again." Wen Yihan suddenly became tough. "Marriage is a lifelong event. Why should I marry someone I have never met and don't know anything about? What do you know? Marriage is a matter of parents' orders and matchmakers' words. Now that the engagement has been made, you can't regret it without reason. Dad, what era is this? Why are you still so conservative?" Hearing the conversation between the Wen family's father and daughter, Jiang Yu touched his chin and thought to himself that there are actually people in this world who are as conservative as the old man. "Well, uncle, I think that a person's lifelong event cannot be bound by a marriage contract. If 2 people are together without emotional foundation, it is like a house without a foundation." "Shut up, it's not your place as an outsider to interfere in the affairs of our Wen family." Jiang Yu was interrupted by Wen's father before he could finish his words. Wen's father had a tough attitude and a hostile look. Jiang Yu was choked and could only lower his head in disappointment and be a quiet bystander. But when Yihan continued Jiang Yu's words, "Dad, I think Jiang Yu is right. I can't face a person without any feelings for my whole life. Yvonne, feelings can be cultivated, and besides, what's his name?" Father Wen seemed a little surprised. When Yvonne's eyes rolled, and he immediately went over to pull his father over, "Dad, let's go inside and talk." She dragged Wen's father into the boudoir, asked Jiang Yu to wait in the living room, and told him not to eavesdrop. "In the boudoir?" Father Wen asked again, "You said his name is Jiang Yu?" Wen Yihan nodded in acknowledgement. "Is it Jiang Yu, the disciple of Dr. Zhang?" "I didn't ask that, but when I first met him, he said he came to Chenyan City to break off his engagement." "Whose engagement are you cancelling?" "Me and Hanying." "It must be him." Father Wen seemed a little excited. "Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? I almost caused a misunderstanding just now." "But, you 2 are living together, why do you want to cancel the engagement?" "Dad, we don't live together. He is just my bodyguard now, and he doesn't even know that I am Wen Fuyao. Wen Yihan's real name is Wen Fuyao. When he was 18 years old, he planned to enter the entertainment industry, so he gave himself a stage name. However, her career path was not smooth. 2 years ago, with the persuasion and help of Wen's father, she switched careers and started a business. He also accumulated some connections when he was an actor, and the name Wen Yihan became well known, so he has been using this name. Apart from her family, not many people know the name Wen Fuyao. Father Wen frowned. Why didn't you tell him earlier? Wen Yihan hurriedly said, Dad, don't tell him about this. What do you mean? What on earth are you up to? Dad, he and I just met, and you let me get along with him in my current identity. I at least need to understand what kind of person he is first. Dad can agree to this, but you just heard that it's not just our Wen family that has made an engagement with him. You are close to him now, so don't let the Han family get there first. Wen Yihan couldn't help but pout and said unhappily, What's so good about him? Dad, do you have to be like this? I can only say that a good teacher produces good students. Dr. Jiang is more than just a skilled doctor. Father Wen's words are meaningful. After the father and daughter came out from vacation after reaching an agreement, Father Wen's unfriendly expression just now disappeared, replaced by a face full of peace. He once again looked at Jiang Yu, nodded with satisfaction, and praised, What a handsome man! Wen Yihan was afraid that his father would be caught, so he hurriedly pushed him out the door. Dad, you go back first. Father Wen and Jiang Yu waved their hands and said, Xiao Jiang, get along well with Yihan. Although she is a bit stubborn sometimes, she is still a very good person. Dad. Wen Yihan kept winking at his father, and only breathed a sigh of relief after pushing him out the door. She didn't dare let her father stay for long. Jiang Yu was confused. Boss Wen, what happened to your dad? He seems like a different person. No, nothing serious. My dad is just like that. Everything will be fine once the misunderstanding is resolved. But I always feel that your father looks at me in a strange way. No. You must have seen it wrong. Wen Yihan's heart was beating like a deer in the air, and he was afraid that Jiang Yu would notice something, so he immediately changed the subject. Wait till I change my clothes, and I'll take you to buy some toiletries. After saying that, she hurried back to her room and took deep breaths for a long time before she calmed down. Afterwards, she took Jiang Yu to the supermarket next to the community to buy some toiletries such as toothbrushes and towels. Wen Yihan didn't dare to eat outside, so he went home and ordered takeout. Not long after, Shushan came, looking panicked. The first thing she said when they met was that something big had happened. Boss Wen, we are in big trouble. I heard that Jin Hu will send Wang Qi to deal with us. She was very nervous, but Jiang Yu said calmly, Is Wang Qi very powerful? Shushan glared at him angrily. As an outsider, of course you don't know Wang Qi. He is a well-known ruthless character in our Chenyan city, Jin Hu's gold medal fighter, nicknamed Iron Fist. It is said that a few years ago when the Black Tiger Hall was fighting for territory with others, Wang Qi fought 10 people alone and severely injured all 10 of them. Wen Yihan's face suddenly became heavy. Shushan vented her anger on Jiang Yu. It's all your fault, you country bumpkin. If it weren't for you, how could Jin Hu let Wang Qi take action? Jiang Yu shrugged. Then why don't you say that I helped you save $1 million? How dare you say that? You've made it so difficult to resolve a matter that could have been settled with $1 million. If Wang Qi takes action, we might not even be able to save our lives. TSK. Jiang Yu said with disdain. To put it bluntly, Wang Qi is just Jin Hu's thug. He's not as scary as you might think. You are such a fearless country bumpkin. I say you two should stop worrying about nothing. I don't need a gold medal fighter to deal with you two. This Wang Qi is clearly coming for me. What's the difference? You are Mr. Wen's bodyguard now. We stay together every day. Can you guarantee that Wang Qi will not accidentally hurt Mr. Wen when he attacks you? Shushan is now very dissatisfied with Jiang Yu and believes that their current situation is all caused by Jiang Yu. Secretary Shu, please have some confidence in me. Since I dare to volunteer to be President Wen's bodyguard, I can guarantee her safety. Bar. Stop bragging here. When you really meet Wang Qi, don't kneel down and beg for mercy. TSK. Secretary Shu may not have any other abilities, but his ability to boost others' morale and destroy his own prestige is something that I cannot even begin to match. What do you mean, you bumpkin? Say it again. Shushan pointed at Jiang Yu's nose and yelled, stamping her feet in anger. Ding dong. Suddenly the doorbell rang, and a voice came from the other side of the door. Hello, takeaway. Wen Yihan stood up and walked over. Stop arguing, eat something first and then think of a solution. Don't go. Jiang Yu stood up suddenly, which frightened Wen Yihan so much that he asked, What happened? Chapter 10, Golden Fighter. Wen Yihan looked at the door like a frightened bird. What happened? There is murderous intent. Something like murderous intent seems illusory to ordinary people, but it does exist. You country bumpkin are playing tricks on me. You're delivering a takeaway and yet you're sending out murderous intent. Shushan looked at Jiang Yu with contempt and went to open the door cursing. She took the takeaway, turned around and taunted, Where's the murderous intent? However, just as she was about to close the door, it was suddenly pulled outwards by an overbearing force. Shushan stumbled and fell to the ground, tears streaming down her face from the pain. The takeaway food was also spilled all over the floor. At this time, a tall man who was about 1.9 meters tall walked in. He had an ordinary appearance, but his hands were scary. It was a hand covered with calluses, twice as thick as that of an ordinary person's. The murderous aura emanates from this person. Shushan thought it was the delivery guy's mistake that caused her to fall. She looked up and wanted to scold him, but when she saw the big guy, she started shaking all over and was so scared that she couldn't speak clearly. Wang Chi. She didn't care about the soup on the ground and crawled to Jiang Yu tremblingly. Wen Yihan's heart was in her throat. She helped Shushan up, not daring to take her eyes off Wang Chi for a moment. The two girls showed their fear, but Jiang Yu was calm and said calmly, You came to me so quickly, you are quite efficient. Wang Chi looked at Jiang Yu and said in a low voice, Do you know what the consequences are for offending Brother Hu? Jiang Yu reached out and gently pushed Wen Yihan, signaling them to step back, and said calmly, I don't know about that. Wang Chi closed the door and clenched his fists until his bones cracked. Choose a way to die, drown, be buried, be chopped by a knife, or be beaten to death by my punch. Do you know what the crime of home assault is? Har har. Wang Chi sneered, Do you know how many lives I have taken? Do you want to scare me with the law? Jiang Yu stretched his neck and smiled happily, So, if I beat you to death, it can be regarded as getting rid of harm to the people. Then it depends on whether you have the ability to do it. Wang Chi's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He took a step forward and chopped vertically with one palm. His fist, as big as a casserole, hit Wen Yihan's heart like a sledgehammer. Etc. Wen Yihan shouted, cold sweat already running down his back. Judging from the appearance alone, Jiang Yu, who is a head shorter, is no match for Wang Chi. She couldn't let Jiang Yu die here. After all, he was her fiancé. Wen Yihan stepped forward and said with courage, Please let him live. We are willing to compensate for all the losses of the Black Tiger Hall. Shushan agreed, No, that's right, don't you just want money? Wang Chi smiled coldly, It was at the beginning, but the moment Brother Hu called me, the nature of the situation had changed. 5 million. Wen Yihan said a number, I will compensate Black Tiger Hall 5 million, how about this matter be settled here? As for the money matters, you guys can talk to Brother Tiger yourself. I'm here for only one purpose. Wang Chi's murderous intent remained undiminished and he was not moved by money at all. Money couldn't solve the problem, and Wen Yihan was really at a loss. She kept winking at Jiang Yu, signaling him to run away. But Jiang Yu seemed to have no sense at all. He picked up the toothpick on the coffee table for no apparent reason and said to himself, I heard that you are known as the Iron Fist. I wonder if it is as hard as iron. As soon as the words fell, 3 toothpicks flew out, and the 3 slight sounds of breaking through the air overlapped and could be heard clearly. Swish, swish, swish. The 3 toothpicks moved so fast that it was almost impossible to see. After a short moment, the sound disappeared, as if nothing had happened. After 3 seconds of silence, Shushan suddenly pointed at Wang Chi in shock, Blood, blood. 3 thin streams of blood flowed down Wang Chi's palm. Only then did Wang Chi feel the pain in his palm. Wen Yihan covered his mouth and stared at the stainless steel door in surprise. 3 toothpicks were embedded in the door. Wang Chi's face suddenly changed. 3 thin toothpicks actually pierced through his calloused hands and got nailed to the door. As an experienced man of the world, Wang Chi realized instantly that he had hit a wall today. No, that's not called iron plate, that's called 24K titanium alloy plate. Jiang Yu took out another toothpick from the box and said disdainfully while picking his teeth, "That's it? I thought your fists were so powerful." Wang Qi saw that the situation was not good and turned around to run. Jiang Yu rushed forward and kicked. "Now that you're here, it won't be so easy to leave." Bang! He kicked Wang Qi to the ground, and the floor cracked. Wang Qi naturally couldn't let others bully him, so he immediately turned over after falling to the ground and slapped Jiang Yu in the face. Jiang Yu punched out with incredible force, smashing Wang Qi's palm directly to the ground. Bang! A piece of intact floor shattered into pieces in an instant, and Wang Qi let out a wail. The thick palm was deformed by Jiang Yu's smash on the spot. Jiang Yu did not stop and punched again, iron fist, right. Iron fist, right. After a few hits, Wang Qi's right hand was covered in blood and was about to be disabled. Jiang Yu hit Wang Qi's other hand again, still repeating, iron fist, right. Iron fist, right. A few clean and neat punches directly crippled the hands of Wang Qi, who was known for his iron fist. Shushan was dumbfounded on the spot. This is too powerful. That's Iron Fist Wang Qi, the gold medal fighter of Black Tiger Hall who can fight 10 people at the same time. How could it be that Jiang Yu, a country bumpkin, broke both of his hands in such a short time? She couldn't believe her eyes. Recalling his previous contempt and ridicule for Jiang Yu, Shushin's legs went limp and he collapsed to the ground. Wen Yihan was also in shock at this moment. Is this young man in front of me really my fiancé? Just after Jiang Yu knocked out one of Wang Qi's teeth with a punch, Wen Yihan came to his senses and immediately went over to hold Jiang Yu back. "Stop hitting me, or someone will die." Jiang Yu straightened his clothes and said to Wang Qi, "Go back and tell Jin Hu that he can't take a penny of the money. If he dares to cause trouble for President Wen again, his fate will not be any better than yours." Wang Qi stood up slowly, his eyes filled with anger and unwillingness, yet helplessness. He chose this path, knowing that it would not end well. His hands were crippled and his iron fist was no longer there. Even if Jiang Yu let him go, his former enemies would come to him one by one. When he walked to the door, Jiang Yu said again, "Of course, if Jin Hu is still not convinced, don't ask a small fry like you to come next time. At least invite a master of the transformation realm." Wang Qi trembled all over, his eyes filled with bitterness. As a martial artist, he knew very well what it meant to be a master of the realm of transformation. Chapter 11, Being Poor and Justified. Jiang Yu thought that the lesson he gave Wang Qi this time was enough to make Jin Hu respect him, but he didn't know that after Wang Qi's hands were crippled, he left Qianyun City overnight. Wang Qi didn't even inform Jin Hu. Therefore, the message that Jiang Yu asked him to convey to Jin Hu was not passed on. Jin Hu waited for 3 days, but there was no news at all, and he couldn't contact Wang Qi. On the top floor of Qingyuan Club, Jin Hu was venting his anger. Bang! He kicked a chair to the ground and angrily scolded the younger brother standing in front of him. "What? I still can't contact Wang Qi, what's the use of you good-for-nothings? Brother Qi is just like that. He has always looked down on us. There is nothing we can do if he doesn't answer our calls. What about the boy? I heard that he and Wen Yihan have been inseparable these days. What the hell is Wang Qi doing? He doesn't even answer my calls now. Brother, let me say something I shouldn't say. I think Brother Qi sometimes doesn't even take you seriously. This bastard." Bang! Jin Hu smashed a cup, then lit a cigar and ordered, "Give Wang Qi another 3 days. If there is no result, I will make him pay. What about that girl surnamed Wen? Qingyuan has already complained about it, saying that our Black Tiger Hall took the money but didn't do the job. First, send a few people over to play with Wen. She runs a cosmetics company, so I don't need to teach you how to do it, right?" "Yes, I'll do it right away." Jiang Yu protected Wen Yihan for 3 days and accompanied her to and from get off work every day. When Wen Yihan was in the company, he had nothing to do, so he wandered downstairs and asked about Wen Fuyao. But after 3 days, there was still no clue, as if there was no such person as Wen Fuyao in Qianyun City. This gave him a headache. The Black Tiger Hall had been relatively quiet for the past 3 days, and Wen Yihan gradually let down his guard. Finally on this day, Han Qiong contacted him again. "Come to Qianyun University quickly. Qianyun University is a key university in Qianyun City, located on the outskirts of the city." Jiang Yu was confused. What am I going to do in college? Why are there so many questions? Just come if you are asked to. Hey, if you ask me to go, I will go, won't that make me lose face? I'm telling you, if you don't do as I say, you'll never get our marriage certificate. Jiang Yu was stunned and gritted his teeth. This woman actually threatened me with the marriage certificate. Could it be that she realized how important the marriage certificate is to me so quickly? Han Qiong had a hold on his vital point, so he could only agree reluctantly. He came to Wen Yihan's office. His current identity was still Wen Yihan's bodyguard, and he needed to report before going out. Wen Yihan was reading a document carefully, with Shushan standing beside him. Boss Wen, I have something to go out for, so I came to tell you. After hearing this, Shushan was unhappy. What do you mean? You are Mr. Wen's personal bodyguard. It's fine that you often hang out downstairs these days, but now you want to go somewhere else. Although she was afraid of Jiang Yu, she still mustered up the courage to retort to him. However, ever since the Wangqi incident, Shushan never dared to call Jiang Yu a country bumpkin again. Wen Yihan was quite understanding and nodded, saying, "Don't worry, go ahead. I don't think the Black Tiger Hall would dare to do anything to me." Jiang Yu said, "I will pick you up on time when you get off work." He still has this professional ethics. Shushan wanted to say something else, but when her eyes met Jiang Yu's, her heart skipped a beat and she swallowed the words back. Jiang Yu said to her, "If anything happens, let me know immediately." Half an hour later, Jiang Yu arrived at the gate of Chenyun University. The college students are all young and lively, full of youthful vigor. Jiang Yu sometimes envied them because he had been studying alone under the guidance of an old man since he was a child. If it weren't for his junior sister who later joined Bakushan, he probably wouldn't even have a friend. "Hey, are you jealous?" Han Qiong patted his shoulder from behind and said jokingly, "If you are willing to marry into our Han family, I can find a way to make you a member of Chenyun University." Jiang Yu turned around and said firmly, "Not interested." Han Qiong smiled slightly and said mysteriously, "Look, let me tell you a secret. Our Han Ying is the campus belle of Chenyun University. Is this why you asked me to come here? I've already booked a table at the cafe next door. You can have a good chat with her later." "I don't think that's necessary." Jiang Yu understood Han Qiong's intention. She just wanted him and Han Ying to develop a relationship. "But I'm here to cancel the engagement, not to cultivate any relationship. Do you have a choice?" Han Qiong smiled, as if everything was under her control. "I hate being threatened the most. Don't you want our marriage certificate? Do you think a marriage certificate is important to me? If the marriage certificate is not important to you, is it necessary for you to come here to cancel the engagement? If you hadn't appeared in Chenyun City, we might never have found you in our lifetime, but you came here anyway." Jiang Yu's face was full of helplessness. "I think I am a capable person, but I just can't do anything to a woman like you." "Okay, I can try to be with her, but there is one condition. Don't tell her about the engagement yet. If this approach doesn't work, Jiang Yu will find another way. It seems difficult to get the marriage certificate from Han Qiong and Han Qianming. Since Han Ying is still a college student, it must be easier to deal with. Maybe I can get the marriage certificate through her. Once the marriage certificate is obtained, it means that the initiative is in hand and there is no need to be threatened by Han Qiong anymore. I promise you, you go to the cafe and wait." Jiang Yu turned around and walked to the coffee shop, closing his eyes to think about strategy. About 15 minutes later, two beautiful girls came towards us. One of the girls had a high ponytail, a light blue knitted sweater on the upper body, and a pair of ripped high-waisted wide-leg jeans on the lower body, revealing her perfect waist. The other girl had bangs and wore a light-colored t-shirt with a black miniskirt. They walked straight towards Jiang Yu. The girl with a high ponytail looked him up and down and said calmly, "Jiang Yu." Jiang Yu nodded, stood up politely, and asked, "Who are you?" The girl with a high ponytail said, "My name is Han Ying, and she is my classmate and best friend, Wang Ruoqi." Wang Ruoqi was not as polite as Han Ying. Her eyes wandered over Jiang Yu unscrupulously, full of contempt. "Are you the one who went on a blind date with Han Ying? Aunt Han praised you to the skies, but in my opinion, you are just a bumpkin from the countryside." Wang Ruoqi spoke without giving any face, which attracted a lot of people's attention. Blind date. Jiang Yu knew that this must be the reason why Han Qiong arranged for them to meet, and he suddenly thought of a countermeasure. He went on a blind date with Han Ying as a stranger and made her fall in love with him. Then he casually mentioned her engagement and naturally let Han Ying steal the marriage certificate from her family. Wang Ruoqi sat down and continued to tease. Do you know how much money Han Ying's family has? You, a country bumpkin, want to pursue her. Are you worthy? Jiang Yu smiled calmly. When I pursue a girl, I never look at how much money she has, because she is definitely richer than me anyway. He said this in a confident and calm tone, and Han Ying and Wang Ruoqi were confused at the time. I've never seen anyone who is so confident about being poor. Chapter 12. Sir, not enough money. They all felt that Jiang Yu's words were familiar. A famous second-generation rich once said, when making friends, I never care whether they are rich or not, because they are definitely not as rich as him. What is this? This is the confidence of rich people. What do your words mean? Wang Ruoqi rolled her eyes and said disdainfully, You're out of your mind, Han Ying, let's go. This kind of person is not worthy of you at all. However, Han Ying threw her backpack on the sofa and sat down casually. You are quite interesting in your words. After she sat down, she ordered 2 cups of coffee and looked at Jiang Yu curiously. She whispered, although he's not as good as my aunt said, he looks okay. Jiang Yu was unhappy at that time. What do you mean it's okay? I'm the most handsome guy in Bakushan, okay. However, from Han Ying's behavior, Jiang Yu could infer one thing. Han Ying had never seen the marriage certificate and might not even know that she was engaged. Since you were introduced by my aunt, don't say I didn't give you a chance. Can you drink? Han Ying took a sip of coffee, and the white cream stuck to her lips. She licked it lightly with her tongue, which made Jiang Yu feel distracted. Han Qiong did not lie, her niece was indeed a top-notch beauty. Of course, Jiang Yu's expression was very natural. He had to leave a good impression on people when they first met. He nodded and said, I can drink a little. I have a party with my friends tonight, let's go together then. As soon as these words came out, Wang Ruoqi immediately objected. No way, Han Ying, everyone at the party today is either rich or noble. Saving this country bumpkin who can't be on the stage will only embarrass you. However, Han Ying just gave her a meaningful look, and Wang Ruoqi immediately understood what she meant, and then smiled slyly. This kind of opportunity is rare, you must cherish it, country bumpkin. Han Ying asked, Are you free tonight? Jiang Yu could see that they were not really inviting him to the party and they must be trying to do something weird. But Wang Ruoqi is right, this opportunity must be seized. Miss Han invited me, so I have to be free no matter what. He had a smile on his face, but Wang Ruoqi was complaining in her heart, after tonight, I'll see if you, a country bumpkin, can still smile. Han Ying picked up her bag and stood up, see you at Nice Bar at 9 o'clock tonight. Wang Ruoqi took out 500 yuan and put it on the table, shouting, Waiter, pay the bill. Meeting for the first time, Jiang Yu naturally had to behave like a gentleman, so he said, I'll pay the bill. Wang Ruoqi said disdainfully, we ordered more than 200 yuan a cup of coffee. Can a bumpkin like you afford it? Jiang Yu's mouth twitched. Damn it, please don't look down on people so much. I am poor, but I can afford a few $100s for a cup of coffee. Wen Han paid him on a daily basis, and Jiang Yu now had over $1,000 in his pocket. When the waiter came over, he generously handed the waiter 500 yuan and then left. Sir, money. The waiter shouted anxiously, and Jiang Yu said generously, no need to look for it. He strode with big strides, looking as cool and casual as possible. Sir, there's not enough money. Jiang Yu staggered and almost fell to the ground. What? $500 isn't enough? The mocking eyes around him gathered around him, and Jiang Yu almost died of embarrassment. The waiter came up and said, Sir, your triple coffee costs a total of $537, and, still 37 short. Har har har. The onlookers were very restrained, but Wang Ruoqi laughed without hesitation and teased, You still think you're handsome? He glared at Wang Ruoqi with resentment. If Wang Ruoqi hadn't taken out 500 yuan and offered to pay the bill, he wouldn't have lost face. Wang Ruoqi seemed to see through his thoughts and said bluntly, Country bumpkin, it's already great that we split the bill for coffee. You can't be so naive as to think that I will pay for you. 500 yuan was enough to pay for her and Han Ying's coffee. Jiang Yu wanted to slap Wang Ruoqi in the face with the soles of his size 42 shoes. Damn it, why didn't you tell me earlier? He took out another 100 and handed it to the waiter, Please change. Since you have failed to show off, there is no need to spend dozens of dollars more. After the waiter gave the change, Jiang Yu took the money and disappeared. Wang Ruoqi laughed so hard that she fell backwards. I suddenly feel that tonight's party will be very interesting. Han Ying, how do you want to deal with him? Han Ying smiled mischievously and whispered a few words to Wang Ruoqi, who smiled even more happily. Jiang Yu almost escaped back to Yuyan Company and happened to run into Wen Yihan and Xu Xin. Wen Yihan saw that his face looked strange and asked, "What happened?" "No, it's okay." How could he talk about such an embarrassing thing? Xu Xin immediately became nervous. Could it be that the Black Tiger Hall is making another move? Jiang Yu immediately straightened his chest. "With me here, do they dare?" Although he made Wen Yihan and Xu Xin feel scared, he was also enough to make them feel safe. Xu Xin let out a long breath, and Wen Yihan said, "I have to work overtime today to discuss the latest sales situation with the sales department. You wait for me in the office. If you are hungry, order some takeout." Jiang Yu waited in the office until 8:30 before Wen Yihan got off work. He safely sent Wen Yihan back to the community, and when he reached the door, he said, "I'm not going in. I have a party with my friends tonight." Xu Xin teased, "You still have friends in Qianyan City." These days, Xu Xin would send Wen Yihan to her doorstep every day before going home alone. As a secretary, she was quite conscientious in her duties, but sometimes her words were not so pleasant to the ears. Jiang Yu curled his lips and said, "Isn't it okay if I have good relationships with people?" Xu Xin said, "If you leave at night, what will happen to Mr. Wen?" Wen Yihan waved his hand and said, "It's okay. I won't be in any danger at home." After that, she took out another 10,000 yuan from her bag and handed it to Jiang Yu. "Boss Wen, what are you doing? Take it. How can you go out to play without some money?" Wen Yihan's action made him feel very warm, and he did not refuse. He also knew that the bar charges high fees, so he carried some extra money with him to avoid being embarrassed by someone like he did today. "Boss Wen, I'm lending you this money. You helped me save millions, this little money is nothing." Wen Yihan smiled softly, like a gentle spring breeze. Looking at Wen Yihan's face, Jiang Yu's heart beat violently. Wen Yihan was beautiful, kind, and considerate. It was hard not to be moved by such a person. However, a ferocious figure suddenly flashed through his mind. The familiar appearance was like a wake-up call that woke him up, and he immediately looked away. "Boss Wen, call me anytime if you have anything. Remember, if someone knocks on the door, don't open it." "I know." Jiang Yu then went downstairs, and he and Xu Xin walked out of the community one after the other. There was no one in front of the community gate, and it was eerily quiet. Jiang Yu suddenly stopped and frowned. Xu Xin was thinking about something when she bumped into Jiang Yu's back, and her two breasts were soft and elastic. "Who? Come out." Xu Xin was about to lose her temper, but Jiang Yu's sudden words frightened her to the point of paleness. Chapter 13, You Are Too Young to Punish Me. Xu Xin, who had just gnashed her teeth and was about to scold Jiang Yu, suddenly became a frightened bird. She quickly hid behind Jiang Yu. Any slight movement could make her heart beat faster. The area in front of the community was very quiet and empty. After a long while, Xu Xin stood up carefully, pinched her waist and shouted angrily, "Don't joke with me like this, where did you come from? If it's not a human, could it be a ghost?" "What, ghost? Don't scare me." Xu Xin hid behind Jiang Yu again, her body trembling slightly. Although she is also a highly educated person, she is not a staunch atheist. Just when Xu Xin thought that Jiang Yu was playing a trick on her again, 3 young men jumped out from behind the tree on the wall. They are all young men in their 20s, but they lack the energy and spirit of youth. The leader was Wang Yu, the security guard of Guanhuju. It took him several days to determine Jiang Yu's whereabouts. He knew that Jiang Yu had been close to Wen Yihan recently, so he took his men to hide behind the bushes after dark. Wang Yu and the other two were very angry at the moment because they suffered a lot from lurking. It was a hot day and there were so many mosquitoes that the 3 of them were bitten all over their faces. "Damn it, I finally waited for you, a country bumpkin." Wang Yu cursed and scratched his face repeatedly. "Who are you?" At first Xu Xin thought that they were people sent by Jin Hu, but looking at the appearance of Wang Yu and the other two, they were completely not on the same level as the Black Tiger Hall. "It's none of your business, get out of the way. If you tell me to leave, I'll leave. Who do you think you are?" Xu Xin responded domineeringly. If she was facing someone from the Black Tiger Hall, she might be afraid, but facing street thugs, she would not be intimidated. The most important thing is that there is a master beside her. Jiang Yu gave her enough confidence. "Brother Yu, I feel itchy all over." Let's solve it quickly. I want to go back and apply some floral water. The face of the person behind Jiang Yu was almost scratched disfigured. Jiang Yu took out his cell phone and took a step back. Teach this country bumpkin a lesson for me. Jiang Yu's purpose was very simple. He wanted to teach Jiang Yu a lesson and then drive him out of Chenyang City. On the one hand, it was to vent his anger, and on the other hand, it was to take the opportunity to establish a relationship with the Han family. He turned on the video on his phone to keep it as evidence so that he could take credit for it to the Han family. When he was fiddling with the clarity, he heard 2 bangs, but he didn't pay much attention to it. After adjusting the clarity, he found that Jiang Yu had already stopped a taxi. Hey, hurry up, that country bumpkin is trying to run away. Jiang Yu urged, but no one responded to him. He suddenly turned his head and his mouth gradually turned into an O shape. He saw that the 2 people he borrowed from his brother were lying on the ground with their limbs spread out, with blood coming out of their noses. Blood. Jiang Yu's face turned pale immediately and he fainted. Jiang Yu didn't have time to waste with Jiang Yu as he had to rush to keep an appointment. After sending Shushan home, he went straight to Nice Bar. This is the most prosperous and lively place in Chenyang City, with more than 20 bars of various sizes gathered here. It is relatively deserted during the day, but it seems like a completely different world at night. There was deafening music playing in the bar, and men and women on the dance floor were swaying and indulging themselves. It was Jiang Yu's first time in a bar and he felt very uncomfortable. If he didn't want to get the marriage certificate through Hanying, he would never stay here for another minute. Nice Bar is the largest bar in Chenyang City. Even though it is known for its high consumption, it is always packed every night. There were so many people under the dim light that it was difficult for Jiang Yu to find Hanying right away. He squeezed to the edge of the dance floor and stopped for a moment to watch the beauties shaking their heads wildly. At this moment, someone patted his shoulder and said, "Hey, bumpkin, I thought you weren't coming." The person who spoke was Hanying's best friend Wang Ruoqi, with a hint of sarcasm in her eyes. "You must be stunned. You have never seen so many beauties in the mountains. Tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Maybe I can help you." Wang Ruoqi winked and saw that Jiang Yu didn't respond, so she continued, "Don't worry, there's nothing that money can't do." Jiang Yu glanced at her and uttered 4 words lightly, "Useless." The music was too loud, and Wang Ruoqi didn't hear what Jiang Yu was saying. She just smiled mockingly, "Follow me." She led Jiang Yu to the box on the 2nd floor, and Jiang Yu's world suddenly became quiet. There were 12 people in the box, half of them men and half of them women. Hanying, who was wearing casual clothes, had 1 foot on the table, holding a bottle of wine in her hand, pointing at another peer who was wearing designer clothes and laughing, "Har har, you lose, drink." The corner of Jiang Yu's mouth twitched slightly. It seemed that Hanying was much more unrestrained than he had imagined. Well, it's easier to take down. However, Hanying acted indifferent to Jiang Yu's arrival. She just said lightly, "You are late," and then continued to play the game of rock paper scissors. The others didn't even look at him, and Jiang Yu, who was left aside, felt a little embarrassed. It took a while before anyone responded to him. "This is a fat girl who weighs about 200 pounds. She stuck to Jiang Yu and said in a coquettish voice, "You must be Jiang Yu, you are so handsome, come here, let me toast you." The fat girl's weight and voice formed a huge contrast, and Jiang Yu got goosebumps all over the floor. He didn't feel like refusing, so he picked up the glass and took a symbolic sip. The fat girl was unhappy at the time. "Handsome boy, you are too disrespectful. You only took a sip after I finished the whole thing. Are you saving it for the fish?" At this time, Wang Ruoqi also came over and said sarcastically, "You look down on me, don't you?" Jiang Yu said, "I can't drink much, I can only drink a little." As soon as these words came out, Hanying immediately winked at his friends, and then everyone in the box raised their glasses. Wang Ruoqi said loudly, "Should we toast to Hanying's new friend?" As the saying goes, it is hard to refuse a kind invitation. Jiang Yu stood up and said, "My name is Jiang Yu. I am very happy to meet you all. I will drink first to show my respect." He drank it all in 1 gulp, but the others did nothing and just looked at him with playful smiles. Then, a young man with a pretty face came over and said calmly, "Brother, you are from the countryside, right? This is not how we drink wine in Chenyang City." "How should I drink the wine from Chenyang City?" The young man directly took out 2 bottles of foreign wine and opened them. "Let's drink 1 bottle each." Jiang Yu was slightly stunned, And then he heard Wang Ruoqi whispering in the fat girl's ear, Li Cheng will definitely get him drunk, you can enjoy it tonight, remember to keep the evidence, this country bumpkin wants to marry Han Ying. Wang Ruoqi's voice was very soft, but Jiang Yu's hearing was very good. Jiang Yu glanced at Wang Ruoqi out of the corner of his eye and sneered inwardly. If you want to play a trick on me, you are still a little naive. Chapter 14, I can only drink a little bit. Jiang Yu knew that tonight's date was a hangmen banquet, but he still went to the appointment resolutely. Because, in the face of absolute strength, all tricks are in vain. He remained calm and took advantage of the situation. He showed an embarrassment, blow a bottle, I can't drink much, I can only drink a little. Li Cheng's face immediately drooped, why, you don't want to give me face. Han Ying looked at Jiang Yu and said unhappily, if you don't want to drink, just leave. Wang Ruoqi echoed, I asked you to come here because I think highly of you, but you are still being so shy here. Jiang Yu pretended to be conflicted, then picked up the bottle of foreign wine and said with a desperate look, today I will risk my life to accompany you. After gulping down a bottle of wine, Li Cheng remained calm and collected, and his alcohol tolerance was extraordinary. Of course, Jiang Yu didn't seem to react at all. Wang Ruoqi on the side was whispering again, after drinking this bottle of wine, he will definitely fall down in 10 minutes at most. I have already booked the room. Here is the room card. However, they did not let Jiang Yu go. As soon as Jiang Yu put down the bottle, Wang Ruoqi came over with a glass of red wine. How about drinking wine with me? No problem. Jiang Yu did not refuse and drank a glass of red wine with Wang Ruoqi, but as soon as he put down the glass, Wang Ruoqi filled it again for him. What's the meaning? Hey, don't you understand this rule? I'm a girl, if I drink 1 cup, you have to drink 3. Bullshit rules. Jiang Yu knew that this was the other party's excuse to get him drunk, so he remained silent and drank it all in 1 gulp. Good alcohol tolerance. As Wang Ruoqi spoke with a slightly sarcastic tone, the 3rd glass of wine was filled. Jiang Yu had just picked up his glass when 12 bottles of beer were placed in front of him. Brother, you drink first. A man less than 1.6 meters tall, with a flat nose and an overbite, spoke as he opened a glass of wine. Jiang Yu really couldn't praise this man's appearance. Even though he, Han Ying and Wang Ruoqi were in the same group, he could clearly feel the indifference this man was suffering. Perhaps this man was just a tool called by Han Ying and the others to get Jiang Yu drunk. After drinking 3 glasses of red wine, Jiang Yu burped, and all 12 bottles of beer had been opened. There's no time to rest for him at all. He glanced around. A round-robin battle, right? Very good. If I don't defeat all of you today, I won't believe in Jiang. Excuse me, everyone. Can you please let me go to the bathroom first? Li Cheng pointed to the toilet in the box and said, of course. Jiang Yu rushed into the toilet, and Li Cheng immediately sneered, are you going to vomit now? Wang Ruoqi patted the fat girl on the shoulder and said, wait for the corpse to be picked up. The fat girl was almost drooling. No matter what, Jiang Yu was still a handsome guy. In the toilet, Jiang Yu took off his shirt, and used his index and middle fingers to press a few times on the acupuncture points on his body. As a miracle doctor, he naturally knows the acupuncture points of the human body very well. His finger technique is called Bai Ji finger. Bai Ji finger is also an ancient martial art. It accelerates blood circulation by stimulating acupuncture points, thereby improving metabolism. It is very effective in sobering up and detoxifying. If someone saw him perform this finger technique, they would be stunned, because when his fingertips touched the skin, a faint white halo appeared. 5 minutes later, Wang Ruoqi pushed the fat girl and said, go and see if he has fallen into the toilet. The fat girl couldn't hide her excitement. Just as she took a step, Jiang Yu came out. Wang Ruoqi said sarcastically, I thought you fell asleep in the toilet. The overbite said, brother, can we start now? He didn't even wait for Jiang Yu to answer, he just gulped down the whole bottle. I've already finished a bottle, you need to speed up. Wang Ruoqi crossed his arms, looking like he was watching a show. Jiang Yu ignored her, picked up the bottle and started drinking, finishing all 12 bottles of beer without stopping. Belch. He burped loudly. Although the beer in the bar is small in quantity, drinking 12 bottles in one go will cause bloating. The overbite hadn't finished drinking yet, which finally gave Jiang Yu a chance to catch his breath. At this point, Nearly 15 minutes had passed since Jiang Yu drank their first bottle of foreign wine, but Jiang Yu was still in high spirits and did not look like he was about to collapse. The fat girl whispered to Wang Ruoqi, "Didn't they say he would fall down in 10 minutes at most?" Wang Ruoqi frowned and winked at others. The round-robin battle continues. The 6 men in the box all drank with Jiang Yu, mixing a variety of alcoholic beverages. If it were an ordinary person, he would have been unconscious by now. But looking at Jiang Yu, he seems to be more energetic. There was no other choice. Han Ying and the other girls had to take part in the battle themselves. They still use the broken rule of 1 for 3. If the woman drinks 1 cup, Jiang Yu has to drink 3 cups. If the woman drinks 1 bottle, Jiang Yu has to drink 3 bottles. Wang Ruoqi was determined to make fun of Jiang Yu and drank a bottle of red wine. She felt a little dizzy and was no longer in her previous state when she sat on the sofa. Han Ying also drank a lot, but Jiang Yu hadn't fallen down yet, so she winked at Li Cheng and the others. Li Cheng shrank his neck, a little scared. Although he only drank a bottle of foreign wine, he saw Jiang Yu drinking it all. Previously, Han Ying, Wang Ruoqi and even Jiang Yu himself said that they could only drink a little bit, so this damn thing probably means they can only drink a little bit. Han Ying's face darkened, and Li Cheng could only bite the bullet and go ahead. "Brother, you have a good alcohol tolerance. I'll drink another one with you." Li Cheng was very clear about his alcohol tolerance. After 2 bottles of foreign liquor, he basically lost his fighting ability. But in order to help Han Ying, he still drank a bottle. The second round of battles continues. An hour later, all 6 men, except the one with overbite, had fallen unconscious. Jiang Yu was still energetic, but he went to the toilet more frequently. The guy with overbite could drink quite a lot, even though he only drank beer, but he persisted to the end. In the third round, he was the only man still persisting, and he had already drunk 46 bottles. This was the 4th dozen bottles of wine, and there were 2 bottles left. The wine in Diabaoshan's hand was like poison and he couldn't drink it at all. Jiang Yu then took over the role. "Brother, drink up, you're not giving me face, are you? Brother, I really can't drink anymore. You're so useless." The dizzy Wang Ruoqi cursed angrily, and Diabashan gritted his teeth and drank another bottle of wine. He threw their bottle away, covered his mouth and rushed into the toilet. Then there was a loud "wow." The overbite sacrificed in the toilet. In order to get Jiang Yu drunk, everyone gave it their all, including the 6 women. At this moment, Jiang Yu was the only one still awake in the box. He glanced at Wang Ruoqi and said coldly, "Want to mess with me?" He went to the toilet and dragged out the overbite, then threw Wang Ruoqi on top of the overbite, and the 2 unconscious people were pressed tightly together. After taking a few photos, Jiang Yu turned his attention to Han Ying. He was thinking about a question: if the matter was settled, would the progress between him and Han Ying have a qualitative leap? Chapter 15, full of routines. Jiang Yu didn't really want to take advantage of someone's misfortune. He just wanted Han Ying to mistakenly believe that the matter was already settled. And Wang Ruoqi has already paved the way for him. He took the room card from the fat girl's bag, hugged Han Ying and left the bar. Their hotel was only 800 meters away. Although Jiang Yu was holding the drunk Han Ying, it did not attract much attention. This kind of thing was very common near the bar. Arriving at the room, Jiang Yu put Han Ying on the bed. There were elves prepared by their hotel in the room. Jiang Yu unpacked them all and threw them on the ground. Afterwards, he looked at Han Ying, whose face was flushed with wine, touched his chin and talked to himself, always feeling that something was missing. "No, there must be something more. If I don't even take off my clothes, it will be too easy for Han Ying to see through me." "Well." Jiang Yu sighed and unbuttoned Han Ying's clothes. "You said that if you hadn't tried to make trouble for me, this wouldn't have happened, right? Now, you can't blame me for this." Of course, Jiang Yu still has a bottom line. At least Han Ying's important parts are still covered by her panties. Facing Han Ying's snow-white skin, Jiang Yu felt a surge of heat in his heart. He is also a man of vigor and vitality. He gently stroked Han Ying's arm and felt her pulse, which was like a bucket of cold water poured over his head, awakening him. Still a perfect virgin. In order to perform the whole act, Jiang Yu waited until 7 in the morning, ran several streets to find a stationery store, and bought a bottle of red ink. Drop ink on the sheets to create the illusion of red spots. After doing all this, he leaned back on the sofa and took a nap. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Han Ying's phone rang. It was Wang Ruoqi who called. They had been sleeping in the bar box until now and found that only Han Ying and Jiang Yu were not there. Wang Ruoqi was very worried and called Han Ying immediately. Jiang Yu was startled, and quickly took off his clothes and pants and got into bed. Han Ying was groping for her phone in a daze, but she touched Jiang Yu's warm body. She opened her eyes instantly, and when Jiang Yu's face came into her sight, her mind went blank. R. Jiang Yu took the initiative and shouted before Han Ying could come to her senses. He grabbed the quilt and wrapped it around himself, looking at Han Ying in horror. What happened? You, what did you do to me last night? Han Ying felt a chill and finally came to her senses, immediately using her clothes to cover her body. Normally, she should have been furious and screaming in this situation, but Jiang Yu's shout made her feel a little unconfident. Han Ying said weakly, I don't know either. What is going on? Han Ying tried hard to recall what happened last night, but she only remembered that they desperately forced Jiang Yu to drink. She didn't even know when she fell asleep. According to her original plan, Jiang Yu and Fatty should be lying on the same bed, and at this time she had already received the photos sent by Fatty. Then she could give the photo to her aunt and directly reject Jiang Yu as the blind date. Han Qiong introduced Jiang Yu to her with all sorts of fantastic words. She knew that even if her refusal might not be very effective, her aunt would still find ways to bring them together. So she used this method of cutting off the source of the problem to deal with Jiang Yu, and by then Han Qiong would not be able to help Jiang Yu. However, things did not develop as she had imagined. Because Jiang Yu was wrapped in the quilt, the red color printed on the bed sheet was clearly visible to her. Han Ying finally exploded. You bastard, Ath. If they were all drunk, perhaps they would just lie in bed and nothing would have happened, but the evidence on the sheets directly reflected what happened last night. Although Han Ying has a more unrestrained personality, she is still very conservative in this regard at least. She wanted to save her first time for the one she loved the most, and definitely not for this country bumpkin whom she had only known for less than a day. Although he is indeed quite handsome, that is absolutely not okay. I'm going to kill you. Han Ying roared angrily. If she had a knife in her hand, she might really kill Jiang Yu with one blow of the knife after losing her mind. She yelled there for about 10 minutes until she was hoarse. Jiang Yu said nothing and let her vent. If their hotel room wasn't soundproofed, their hotel security would have rushed in by now. In the end, Han Ying stopped roaring, but just stared at Jiang Yu with a resentful and vicious look, which seemed to have calmed her down a bit. Well. Jiang Yu sighed, drinking ruined things. If your friends hadn't kept forcing me to drink last night, I wouldn't have. Never mind. Anyway, it's already happened. As a man, I will definitely take responsibility. His words completely shifted the blame, and Han Ying had no way to refute it because her purpose last night was indeed to get Jiang Yu drunk. But he ended up losing the rice instead of the chicken, and ended up getting himself involved. She stared at Jiang Yu for a long time before squeezing out a sentence from between her teeth. Didn't you say that you can only drink a little? If Jiang Yu's alcohol tolerance wasn't that good, there would be no need for her to do it herself, and she wouldn't have drunk herself unconscious. Jiang Yu said innocently, it's just a little bit. In Boki Mountain, my alcohol tolerance is the worst. The old man could indeed drink more than him, but the key point was that there were only the two of them, master and disciple, in Bakushan. Han Ying stared at him resentfully. The phone kept ringing. After a long silence, Jiang Yu said, don't worry, although I am a little poor, I will definitely treat you well. He was very affectionate, but Han Ying did not appreciate it. Han Ying took care of her own clothes on the boat, and the resentment on her face turned into indifference and disgust. We are all adults now. You and I both drank too much last night. I admit that something happened that shouldn't have happened. I don't hold you responsible. But remember, from now on, never appear in front of me again. And, if a third person knows what happened last night, I will make you disappear from this world forever. The threat from Miss Han of Chenyan City was very powerful, but it was useless to Jiang Yu. But Han Ying's attitude made Jiang Yu a little disappointed. He did succeed in making Han Ying misunderstand, but things did not develop as he expected. Never show up again? How is that possible? He hasn't even got his marriage certificate yet. But Jiang Yu did not gain nothing. At least he had grasped Han Ying's weak spot. If all else failed, he could use this incident to threaten Han Ying to hand over the marriage certificate. At this moment, Shushan called him and scolded him. You had a blast last night, didn't you? You didn't go home all night. If something happens to President Wen, will you be held responsible? Sorry, I drank too much last night. I don't want to hear your excuses. Get back here right now. Something has happened at the company and President Wen has to go there and solve it himself. Chapter 16: A Bucket of Water. As Wen Yihan's personal bodyguard, Shushan had a tougher attitude towards him. On the contrary, the real boss Wen Yihan did not restrict him too much. After hanging up the phone, Shushan said angrily, "Boss Wen, are you too lenient with him? You didn't mind him not coming back all night, and you even took the initiative to give him money yesterday." Wen Yihan smiled elegantly. "He helped me a lot, so he is my benefactor. Let's put it this way. He is your employee now, President Wen, and he should do his job well." As soon as she finished speaking, Shushan's phone rang again. She said helplessly, "The company is urging us again." Wen Yihan picked up her handbag and said, "Let's go over there first." "How can that be possible? What if we run into someone from the Black Tiger Hall along the way? We have been living in peace these past few days. I think the people from the Black Tiger Hall will not target me anymore." "Can. Stop talking, go and deal with the company's affairs first, and just ask Jiang Yu to come directly to the company." The two girls drove to the company. There were a lot of people gathered at the front desk, and three middle-aged women were making a lot of noise. "This is a shady company. I advise you not to buy their beauty products. Look, I became like this after using their facial mask. Who is the boss? Come out now. Everyone, come and see, this unscrupulous company is selling low-quality products and it has ruined my face." The faces of the three middle-aged women were covered with red spots, which at first glance looked like allergies. The three of them were quarreling so loudly that the employees could not persuade them to stop. They were at their wits' end and could only notify Wen Yihan to handle the matter. In fact, allergies are very common. Every company that makes beauty products will encounter such situations, and they are usually handled privately with compensation. But these three people were different. After they arrived, they started making a lot of noise and never mentioned compensation. Jiang Yu is closer to the company and arrives there faster than Wen Yihan. He stood aside and asked about the cause and effect. He has been Wen Yihan's bodyguard for a few days, and many people in the company know him. It's just an allergy, not a terminal illness. Is it necessary to make such a fuss? Xiao Jiang, you haven't figured it out yet. These three people want to ruin our company's reputation. If we let them continue to make trouble like this, our company's reputation will be ruined. Jiang Yu frowned slightly, and couldn't help but walk forward a few steps, observing the three women from a distance. Traditional Chinese medicine emphasizes observation, auscultation, questioning, and palpation. As a young genius doctor, diagnosis by observation is one of his essential skills. At this time, Wen Yihan hurried over, squeezed into the crowd, and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, I'm late because of something. Can we go to the conference room and talk slowly?" "Who are you?" The three troublemakers obviously didn't know Wen Yihan. "This is the boss of our company," said an employee. "Okay, so you are the black-hearted boss." One of the women came up and grabbed Wen Yihan by the collar, making Wen Yihan very embarrassed. "I'm telling you, I'm not done with you for what happened today. You've ruined the face I've taken care of for decades. You ruined our reputation, today we will destroy your company." There was a strong hint of threat in his words. Shushan hurried forward to help. "Three of you, please talk it over nicely, don't use force. What's wrong with taking action? What's wrong with taking action?" It was obvious that the three middle-aged women were not well educated. They couldn't say anything interesting and were just making a lot of noise. "Everyone, come and see, recognize the black-hearted boss of this company, and don't be fooled like us. My beautiful face has been ruined by them." Even when Wen Yihan came, they didn't talk about compensatory treatment. They just kept shouting and screaming, trying to attract everyone in the building. The building's security had already arrived at the scene, but faced with such a dispute, they could only watch. Wen Yihan struggled to break free and said politely, "Please calm down, all three of you. If you are really allergic to our company's products, all treatment costs will be borne by us. What if it was your company's product that caused the problem? You are a black-hearted company that specializes in harming innocent people like us." Shushan muttered, "Our company never cheats people." "Then tell me, why did my face become like this after using your company's products? People's physical conditions cannot be generalized. It may be that you are allergic to something in the product. What do you mean? Does that mean we are wrong? Everyone, please judge for yourself. What kind of nonsense is that? Shushan's face was full of black lines. Please don't distort my meaning, okay? I didn't say it was you who were wrong. When Ihan said again, please follow me, the three of you. I will give you a satisfactory explanation for this matter. Explain your shit. Your shady company should be shut down as soon as possible. The three middle-aged women had very tough attitudes and seemed to have no intention of reconciliation at all, which gave Wen Ihan a headache. Seeing this, Jiang Yu gave a meaningful smile, turned around and left. Shushan saw him out of the corner of her eye. Hey, you. She shouted, but Jiang Yu seemed not to hear her. Shushan gritted her teeth and was very unhappy, thinking to herself that you actually slipped away under such circumstances. What if President Wen was hurt by those three crazy women? The three women had no intention of reconciling and kept making a fuss. Wen Ihan was really helpless because many of the onlookers were old customers of their company, and this fuss would definitely make customers question the company's products. Call the police. Wen Ihan really had no choice but to do this. Since the three of you are unwilling to reconcile, then call the police and let the judicial authorities determine whether the three of you are allergic to our company's products. If so, we will bear all the responsibilities. If not, I'm sorry, your actions today have had a huge negative impact on my company, and I will definitely investigate to the end. She became tougher, and the three women became noticeably flustered. You, what's your attitude? You ruined our reputation and you want to sue us. You, just wait, this matter is not over yet. As soon as Wen Ihan said he would call the police, the three of them planned to run away. Make way, make way. At this moment, Jiang Yu's voice rang out, and the crowd made way for him. Jiang Yu hurried over with a bucket of water and headed straight for the three middle-aged women. Jiang Yu, what are you doing? Don't mess around. Wen Ihan's heart rose to his throat and he was filled with anxiety. In full view of everyone, Jiang Yu rushed over and poured a bucket of water on the three women. For a moment, there was complete silence and everyone's mouth opened into an O shape. Chapter 17, Flying Leaves Hurt People. R. Accompanied by three screams, the three middle-aged women were all chilled to the bone by Jiang Yu. Of course, the one who felt the chillest was Wen Ihan. She had finally managed to gain a bit of initiative, but after Jiang Yu interfered, she was no longer in the right. Shushan was so angry that she stamped her feet. What are you doing, Jiang? Do you really want to destroy our company? R. The three middle-aged women screamed, wiped the water off their faces with their hands, and rushed towards Jiang Yu, looking like they wanted to eat him. Jiang Yu stood there calmly, and just one sentence made the three women stunned. You've ruined your makeup, and you're still in the mood to challenge me. After he drank this bucket of water and the three women rubbed it all over their faces, all their makeup was gone. Even the red spots on the face were rubbed away. All eyes were on them. Jiang Yu spoke again, it's clear now. They don't have any allergies at all. The red spots on their faces are all painted on. I think everyone knows what Sima Zhao is up to. So she was wearing makeup to blackmail me. Have fraudsters come up with new tricks like this these days? Bar, how shameless. Accusations and insults rang out, and the three women looked at each other, and after being exposed, they all ran out at the same time. Shushan immediately shouted, "Security, stop them." When Ihan let out a long sigh, his gratitude evident in his words. If it weren't for Jiang Yu, no matter how this incident ended today, it would have a certain negative impact on the company. The image of this fiancé in her mind improved a little bit. She came over and asked, "How did you know that?" "I'll tell you in detail when I get back. This matter is not over yet. They must have been instructed by someone. I'll help you find the real culprit behind this." He chased after them, and the three women got into a van and drove away. The security guards did not stop them. Seeing that someone was there to pick him up, Jiang Yu became more certain of his guess, so he hailed a taxi and followed them. 10 minutes later, the van arrived at the entrance of Qingyuan Club. Qingyuan Club, isn't this the Black Tiger Hole's territory? Does Jinhu dare to go against me? With such doubts in mind, Jiang Yu walked into the elevator and went directly to the top floor. As soon as he got out of the elevator, he heard Jinhu's angry curse, "Useless thing, you can't even do such a small thing, and you still have the nerve to ask me for money, get out of here immediately." Brother Tiger, we didn't expect someone would just dump a bucket of water on us. There was no one in the corridor today, so Jiang Yu walked over. Jin Hu, have you forgotten Wang Qi's fate in just a few days? His voice came out of nowhere, startling Jin Hu. When the three women saw Jiang Yu, they were immediately furious. Brother Hu, it was this little bastard who splashed water on us. Jiang Yu frowned. We are from the city after all, please be more polite when you speak. Bar, you little bastard, how dare you follow me here? Let me show you how Brother Tiger will deal with you. Oh, Brother Tiger, how are you going to deal with me? Jiang Yu seemed to have walked into his own backyard. He sat down casually and looked at Jin Hu with amusement. Although Jin Hu knew that Jiang Yu was good at fighting, they had more people in the Black Tiger Hall, so he quickly resumed his position as the leader of the Black Tiger Hall and said coldly, there is a road to heaven but you don't take it. There is no door to hell but you break in. Close the door and grab your weapons. 17 or 18 younger brothers inside took out various weapons and surrounded Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu remained calm and just picked the leaves of the potted plants nearby and held them in his hands. Jin Hu lit a cigar, blew out a smoke ring, and said in a superior tone, tell me, do you want hands or legs? Jiang Yu shook his head disdainfully. How do you compare to Wang Qi? What? His unreasonable question left Jin Hu confused. Have you met Wang Qi? More than that, I was the one who broke his hand. Har har har. A burst of mocking laughter rang out, and a little brother waved the stick in his hand and jokingly said, are all the bumpkins nowadays so boastful? Country bumpkin, do you know what people in the underworld call us Brother Qi? Iron Fist King Qi, and you crippled his hand. Jiang Yu shook his head. It seemed that Wang Qi did not convey his words to Jin Hu. No wonder Jin Hu dared to be so arrogant when he saw him. But it doesn't matter. He came today to help when Eve won deal with the trouble. Since Jin Hu was the real culprit behind the scenes, it didn't matter whether there was a warning from Wang Qi to Jin Hu or not. Today it is necessary for Jin Hu to deeply realize what it means that there are green mountains outside the mountains and there are brothels outside the buildings. Jin Hu didn't seem to want to talk nonsense with him. He waved his hand and motioned for his younger brother to take action. He slowly took out his mobile phone and prepared to call Wang Qi for double insurance. Of course, he also knew that Wang Qi would most likely not answer his call, because Wang Qi's phone had been turned off in the past few days. The younger brothers could no longer hold back any longer and swarmed forward. At this moment, the leaves in Jiang Yu's hand flew out in all directions, like a goddess scattering flowers, which made people marvel. It was just an ordinary leaf, but in his hands, it turned into a sharp weapon that could hurt people. Ding ding dong. After a series of slight sounds of breaking through the air were heard, there was a burst of sounds of metal and stone. The weapons in the hands of the dozen or so brothers all fell to the ground, and there was a bloody mark on everyone's wrist. The last leaf in Jiang Yu's hand flew towards Jin Hu. Jin Hu was already shocked by Jiang Yu's flying leaves. The last leaf flew straight to his face and cut off the cigar in his mouth. The incision is smooth. Jin Hu's legs began to tremble involuntarily. Being able to become the leader of the Black Tiger Hall, he must have seen the world. But Jiang Yu's skill of using flying leaves to injure people was beyond his understanding and was extremely mysterious. There was a long silence, and the younger brothers of the Black Tiger Hall were all stunned on the spot. Although their wrists hurt badly, no one dared to cry out. They felt like they had seen a ghost. A scene that they had only seen on TV actually happened to them today. Who would dare to get close to such a peerless master? They finally realized that Jiang Yu had not been bragging before, and the gold medal fighter whom they had been unable to contact might have really been crippled by this young master. The three women standing aside and watching the show were even more frightened, but at the same time they were secretly glad that Jiang Yu did not use such means to deal with them. It's scary just thinking about it. Jiang Yu slowly plucked another leaf and said to Jin Hu, tell me, do you want a hand or a leg? Only then did Jin Hu come back to his senses from his fright, his back already wet with cold sweat. Little brother, I was blind and didn't recognize the great man. I apologize to you. Please be magnanimous and don't hold it against me. Jin Hu was not as courageous as Wang Qi and begged for mercy on the spot. Jiang Yu sneered, he said he was the one who was in charge, what a lack of ambition. Chapter 18 Broken Finger. The entire Black Tiger Hall was in complete silence, and everyone was shrouded in great fear. This group of people have fought and killed many times, and have never been as scared as they are now. The leaves in Jiang Yu's hand were like flowers scattered by a fairy, instantly cutting their wrists. It is hard to imagine what a bloody scene it would be if the position was slightly shifted and the leaves cut their throats. Jiang Yu can obviously do this. Therefore, everyone present was frozen in place, not daring to move, because they didn't know when the leaves in Jiang Yu's hand would fly out, and they didn't know whether Jiang Yu would show mercy next time. Even Jin Hu, the person in charge, was trembling with fear at this moment, begging for mercy in a servile manner. Jin Hu's situation is different from Wang Qi's. There are many people present and many gossips. Once Jin Hu is crippled by Jiang Yu, the matter will definitely spread throughout Shenyang City in the shortest time. By then, even if Jiang Yu didn't kill him, he would be hunted down by his enemies and end up dead on the street. Jin Hu didn't want to end up like this, so he put aside his face and dignity and begged Jiang Yu for mercy. Jin Hu was almost kneeling down and kowtowed to Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu didn't think of killing anyone. He picked another leaf. Jin Hu's body trembled violently, for fear that the leaf would fall on some part of his body. It's not impossible to forgive you, but you have provoked me time and again. Do you think that if you admit your mistake, this matter will be over? Jiang Yu's face darkened and his eyes became fierce, like a killing god. Jin Hu looked at his younger brothers and then asked, "Can we let them go out first?" "Certainly." Jiang Yu shrugged, "Those were just minions following orders. Everyone, go out and wait for me outside. No matter what noise you hear, don't come in." The younger brothers had wanted to escape for a long time, but they were overwhelmed facing Jiang Yu, so they scattered and disappeared in less than 10 seconds. Jin Hu picked up a dagger from the ground, as if he had made a great decision. "Little brother, I am a gangster. I know the rules. I have provoked you, and I admit it." As soon as he finished speaking, Jin Hu placed his left hand on the coffee table, raised his right hand and chopped off his little finger with a clean move, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Jin Hu clenched his teeth so tightly that veins popped out, and he tried hard not to shout out. Although Jin Hu was not as courageous as Wang Qi, he was at least a ruthless man. He chopped off his fingers without saying a word. This was his explanation to Jiang Yu. "I know that even if the entire Black Tiger Hall is not enough for you to fight, my Black Tiger Hall still has some connections in Shenyang City. If you encounter something that you cannot handle yourself, I, Jin Hu, promise that as long as you say the word, my Black Tiger Hall will go through fire and water for you." Jin Hu was worried that Jiang Yu would not be satisfied, so he made this promise again. Jiang Yu shook his head. "I don't need you to help me do anything, but remember, if you dare to provoke the people of Yuyan Company again, I will show no mercy." Jin Hu nodded repeatedly. "I swear, I will never do that again." He was just doing work for someone else. Now that he had seen how powerful Jiang Yu was, he no longer dared to pick a fight with Wen Yihan. He didn't even have time to hide. Jiang Yu said no more. His goal had been achieved, so he turned around and left. "Brother, let me remind you, be careful of He Qingyuan. He is vicious and cruel. Even if we lose, he will never give up." Jiang Yu had some impression of the name He Qingyuan. He stopped and turned around, asking, "What's the conflict between He Qingyuan and Wen Yihan?" Jin Hu said, "It's not a feud, it's just a competitive relationship. As far as I know, He Qingyuan lost the bid with Wen Yihan before, so he asked me to secretly run Yuyan Company. He is just a villain who only knows how to play tricks behind the scenes. There is no need to worry about him." Jiang Yu didn't take He Qingyuan seriously, so Jin Hu said, "He Qingyuan is not that simple. He has connections in Kyoto and a huge network of contacts. He may know someone like you." "I see." Jiang Yu replied calmly and pushed the door open to leave. The younger brothers from the Black Tiger Hall stood in 2 rows in the corridor outside the door. When they saw Jiang Yu coming out, they all turned their heads away, not daring to look Jiang Yu in the eye. Watching Jiang Yu disappear at the end of the corridor, the younger brothers breathed a sigh of relief and rushed in. When they saw Jin Hu's fingers and bloodstains on the coffee table, they were all dumbfounded. 20 minutes later, Jiang Yu returned to Yuyan Company. The employees in the company were working step by step, as if nothing had happened before. Jiang Yu came to the office when Yihan was processing documents, and Shushin was standing by to assist. "You're back." When Yihan stood up immediately, with a questioning look in his eyes, Shushin asked directly, "How is it going? Have you found the mastermind behind this?" Jiang Yu nodded. I found it. It was the Black Tiger Hall who ordered it. When Yvonne frowned, it's them again. As the saying goes, we are not afraid of thieves stealing, but we are afraid of thieves thinking about it. If what happened today happens a few more times, it will definitely affect the company's reputation. It's all because of you? Shushan seemed very angry. She felt that, in the final analysis, it was Jiang Yu who caused the trouble. If their first reconciliation had been successful, none of these things would have happened. Business people are afraid of these ruffians doing shady things. Even if you call the police, it is only a temporary solution. The Black Tiger Hall will just find someone to take the blame and continue to disgust you. When Ihan didn't blame him at all. She whispered, "Thank you for your hard work. It's good to know who is behind this. I will find a way to deal with it." Jiang Yu smiled brightly, which annoyed Shushan again. She gritted her teeth and said, "You can still laugh. Everything has been resolved, why can't I smile? What's the meaning? From tonight onwards, you can rest assured that the people from the Black Tiger Hall will never dare to cause trouble to you again." Real. When Ihan's face was full of surprise, while Shushan pouted, half believing and half doubting. Jiang Yu nodded, but his smile gradually disappeared. When Yvonne asked curiously, "What happened again?" Jiang Yu said, "The matter has been resolved. I seem to be unemployed." When Ihan chuckled, "Then I will officially hire you as my bodyguard now, with a long-term contract." Shushan immediately added, "It's a bodyguard, not a personal bodyguard." When Ihan is no longer in any danger now, so he naturally does not need Jiang Yu's close protection. I'll think about it. Jiang Yu would definitely not sign a long-term contract. After settling the 2 marriage contracts in Chenyang City, he had to go to the next place. Shushan said disdainfully, "You're still considering it. You're really taking advantage of me. I told you when we first met that I came to Chenyang City to break off my engagement, not to find a job." After Jiang Yu explained, he suddenly focused his attention on Wen Yihan. Wen Yihan was obviously a little flustered, his heart was beating like a deer, and he muttered to himself, could it be that he noticed something? Chapter 19, Some Pretty Things. Wen Yihan has never revealed her identity, and she is still in the observation stage of her fiancé. As of now, there is no problem with Jiang Yu's character. But she still didn't intend to reveal her cards. Marriage is no joke. Jiang Yu stared at her for a long time before asking, "Boss Wen, you have a lot of connections in Chenyang City, right? Do you know someone named Wen Fuyao?" "I don't know him." Wen Yihan answered decisively. "Boss Wen, you are out of danger now. Can I arrange my time freely?" "Certainly." Wen Yihan knew that Jiang Yu was looking for him, and he found it interesting to think about it. "Boss Wen, can you use your connections to help me find Wen Fuyao?" "No problem." Seeing Jiang Yu's grateful expression, Wen Yihan's heart was filled with joy. Of course, she didn't want to continue on this topic, lest she reveal her flaws. "By the way, how did you know that those 3 people were in disguise to cause trouble?" "Because I'm a doctor." Speaking of his profession, Jiang Yu talked freely. Chinese medicine emphasizes observation, auscultation, questioning and palpation. "I have high medical skills, so diagnosis by observation is a piece of cake for me. The Neijing says, where evil gathers, the qi must be weak. People who are truly allergic." Jiang Yu talked a lot of words that they couldn't understand, and when Yihan looked like he was thinking about something. In fact, she knew her fiancé Jiang Yu, and also knew that Jiang Yu was the apprentice of a peerless doctor, but she just didn't think of it for a while. Shushan was getting annoyed and said, "Who wants to listen to your nonsense? Get out of here. President Wen still has some documents to deal with." She pushed Jiang Yu, and Jiang Yu said seriously, "Traditional Chinese medicine is the treasure of our country, but you say it is a mess. I have to have a good talk with you about this. Do you know how many people have been saved by traditional Chinese medicine over thousands of years? Do you know?" Bang! Shushan pushed him out, slammed the door shut, and muttered, "Why didn't I notice he was such a chatterbox before?" Jiang Yu now has free time, so it is impossible for him to stay in the company. He tries to find Wen Yihan. Regardless of whether this engagement can be cancelled successfully, at least we have to find the person first. During the 2 days of the weekend, Jiang Yu posted on the internet looking for someone and asked around, but there was still no news about Wen Fuyao. On Monday, he thought he could get in touch with Han Ying again, so he took a taxi to Chenyang University. During the trip, Han Qiong called him and scolded him. What's wrong with you? Xiaoyin stayed at home for 2 days on the weekend, so why didn't you ask her out for a walk? It's not that Jiang Yu didn't want to, but he knew that Han Ying had lost her virginity inexplicably, so she would be depressed for at least 2 or 3 days, right? I have my own plans. He didn't tell Han Qiong in detail. By the way, I was just looking for you. Can you help me get a copy of Han Ying's class schedule? Why, you want to take classes with her? What's the point of taking classes for free? Why don't I help you sign up and let you experience college life for real? I tell you, college life is great. No need. Jiang Yu refused directly. He didn't want to accept Han Qiong's favor. The class schedule, right? I'll send it to you later. Oh, by the way, I have some bad news to tell you. I heard that Zhao Shuo has been very aggressive in pursuing Xiaoyin recently. Don't let anyone get there first. Is it Mr. Zhao who is planning to marry into your family? The marriage is just the wishful thinking of my eldest brother and the Zhao family. Xiaoyin doesn't want to be a victim of the business of the two families. However, she changed the subject. If Xiaoyin falls under Zhao Shuo's attack, then you will definitely have no chance. Really? Why do I feel like you're secretly happy? Han Qiong's unhappy voice came from the other end of the phone. Jiang Yu was of course secretly delighted. Once the marriage between the Han and Zhao families was finalized, the Han family would definitely take the initiative to cancel the engagement. Isn't this exactly what he wanted? Now Jiang Yu has another way to get a marriage certificate. Maybe he will secretly help Zhao Shuo pursue Han Ying. I won't say any more to you. I'm at school now. Please send me the class schedule. Jiang Yu hung up the phone in a hurry. 3 minutes later, Han Ying's class schedule was sent to his mobile phone. There are quite a lot of classes for freshmen, and Han Ying has classes every Monday. Tianyun University has beautiful scenery, with lush trees and flower petals scattered on the tree-lined paths. Jiang Yu followed the instructions on the timetable and came to the classroom where Han Ying was taking classes. There were not many freshmen who skipped classes, so the classroom was full of people. Han Ying sat in the back row, looking listless. Wang Ruoqi was right next to her, whispering to her. Han Ying, what's wrong with you? I asked you to go out and play these past 2 days but you didn't come out. Did something go wrong? Han Ying felt uncomfortable whenever she thought of what happened on Friday night. It wasn't that things didn't go well, it was clearly that she felt terrible. Wang Ruoqi continued, is it because of that country bumpkin Jiang Yu? Don't worry, I will definitely help you get rid of him. Jiang Yu, who was standing at the door of the classroom, heard these words and was extremely unhappy with Wang Ruoqi. Aren't you meddling too much? Don't mention him in front of me. Han Ying felt uncomfortable when she heard Jiang Yu's name. Although she couldn't remember what happened that night, it was easy for her to imagine it. Suddenly, Han Ying caught a glimpse and saw someone standing at the door, waving at her with a smile on his face. She shuddered suddenly and her heart tightened. Could it be that she had suffered a psychological trauma? Ruoqi, you, please help me check the door, is that the guy? Wang Ruoqi turned around and her face drooped. Is this country bumpkin a dog's skin plaster? He actually found his way to the school. What? Han Ying was shocked. Ruoqi, help me get rid of him. Han Ying didn't know Jiang Yu's purpose, and she was worried that Jiang Yu would publicize what happened that night. Leave it to me. Wang Ruoqi ignored the angry look of the teacher, rushed out of the classroom, and dragged Jiang Yu to the bottom of the teaching building. She pushed Jiang Yu and sneered, you country bumpkin, you even chased me to school, do you really think Han Ying would like you? Jiang Yu said calmly, whether you like it or not, it shouldn't be up to you to decide, right? He. Wang Ruoqi sneered, why don't you look in the mirror and see how you are worthy of Han Ying? Let me tell you, Mr. Zhao from Huayin Group failed in his pursuit of Xiaoyin. How can you be so good at it? Jiang Yu shook his head, that's right, just me. Don't think you can pursue Han Ying just because you're pretty. These words made Jiang Yu stunned. How pretty are you? Damn, why does it sound so weird? At this time, several tall and strong sports students came over and saw Wang Ruoqi's angry face. They shouted from a distance, boy, are you tired of living? How dare you make my Ruoqi unhappy? Wang Ruoqi can be described as having some beauty, so she has several suitors, and Li Zhao, a sophomore student at the School of Physical Education, is one of them. Chapter 20 Boxing Match. Li Jiao is 1.85 meters tall, a head taller than Jiang Yu. He holds a basketball in his hand and is a man of few words. As soon as they meet, he throws the basketball directly to Jiang Yu. This blow was still very powerful. If it were someone with a weaker constitution, he would have been knocked to the ground on the spot. Jiang Yu dodged by simply turning sideways and threw the basketball far away with a bang. Li Jiao walked over and stood in front of Wang Ruoqi. Wang Ruoqi had an indifferent expression and was obviously not interested in this suitor. However, since free thugs appeared, Wang Ruoqi decided to make use of them. Li Jiao, you're here just in time. Help me get this kid out of the school. With pleasure. Of course, Li Jiao would not miss this good opportunity to show his courtesy. After replying, he turned his face and said to Jiang Yu, "Boy, if you don't want to be punched, get out of here. The school is yours, so if you tell me to leave, I'll leave." What? Li Jiao was a little surprised, obviously not expecting Jiang Yu to have such a response. He looked at his classmates and sneered, "You want to be beaten, right? Then I will." Bang! Before he could finish the word accomplish, Jiang Yu's fist had already landed on the bridge of his nose, and 2 streams of bright red blood flowed down his nostrils. Bang! Li Jiao fell to the ground and fainted. Jiang Yu sneered, "With just this little ability, you still want to be a strong person." However, although Li Jiao fainted, several of his classmates were still there. "Damn it, you dare to hit my brother!" 5 or 6 sports students rushed forward. A normal person would have just run away, but Jiang Yu didn't. Under Wang Ruoqi's astonished gaze, Jiang Yu flirted with everyone in no time. Clean and neat. Wang Ruoqi quickly regained her composure and did not run away because of Jiang Yu's fist. She smiled, "I didn't expect you to be so good at fighting." Jiang Yu shrugged, "Just average, I've practiced for a few years." Wang Ruoqi raised her eyebrows, "Do you really want to pursue Han Ying? Does it have anything to do with you?" "Of course, if you really want to, I can help you. Wait for my call in the evening, but you have to leave now because Han Ying doesn't want to see you now." Jiang Yu only believed the second half of Wang Ruoqi's words. It's true that Han Ying doesn't want to see him, but she says Wang Ruoqi will help him unless a sow can climb a tree. "Little girl, what tricks are you trying to play on me again?" he said calmly, "Why should I believe you?" Wang Ruoqi said, "Do you have any choice? If I don't help you, do you think you can pursue Han Ying by yourself? Don't dream." Jiang Yu just looked at her quietly. "Blow, keep blowing." Wang Ruoqi's contempt for him was clearly written on her face, so there was no way Jiang Yu would believe her. But the same thing goes, in the face of absolute strength, all tricks are futile. He wanted to see what tricks Wang Ruoqi would come up with. "Okay, I'll trust you again." After saying that, he turned and left. The moment he turned around, Wang Ruoqi changed into a disgusted expression and said secretly, "Country bumpkin, wait and see how I kill you tonight." Then she went upstairs to continue her class. As for Li Jiao and others lying on the ground, she didn't even glance at them. At 9 o'clock in the evening, Wang Ruoqi sent Jiang Yu an address and said they would meet in half an hour. Jiang Yu was free and arrived at the agreed location on time at 9:30. The words, Xingyo Boxing Club, were clearly visible, and Wang Ruoqi was standing in front of the club. "Just you." Jiang Yu didn't see Han Ying. Wang Ruoqi said, "Han Ying is already inside, let's go in." Jiang Yu frowned, "You asked me to come to the boxing club late at night." Wang Ruoqi said, "What do you know, you country bumpkin? Xingyo Boxing Club is a legitimate business during the day, but it's an underground boxing ring at night. People without connections can't get in at all. Are you okay with this?" "I don't like boxing, but Han Ying does." She led Jiang Yu and said, "Don't say I won't help you. Han Ying likes powerful boxers the most. I have already signed you up. It will be your turn in about half an hour." "Signed me up? Aren't you taking it too far? Do you really want to pursue Han Ying?" Wang Ruoqi glanced at him. "This is your only chance. Han Ying has agreed. She said that as long as you can win the boxing match, she will be your girlfriend. If you can't win or even don't dare to go on stage, then don't see her again. She really said that. You don't believe me?" "No." Wang Ruoqi was choked by Jiang Yu's straightforward answer. "Take me to her. For matters like this, it is better to ask the person involved to confirm in person." Wang Ruoqi stopped talking and led Jiang Yu to the second underground floor. The huge boxing ring was surrounded by people, all of whom were shouting at the top of their lungs, cheering for the boxers they had bet on. They came to a private room where Han Ying was sitting quietly. "How did you bring him here?" When she saw Jiang Yu, Han Ying immediately showed an expression of disgust. Jiang Yu sneered in his heart, and said that if she won, she would be my girlfriend, but she was not even willing to pretend. Wang Ruoqi said, "He doesn't believe me and wants to find you to confirm it in person." Jiang Yu said, "She said if I win the boxing match, you will agree to be my girlfriend." Han Ying looked at Wang Ruoqi in embarrassment. Wang Ruoqi kept winking at her, as if to say that this country bumpkin was bound to lose. Han Ying then replied, "That's right." Jiang Yu smiled and said, "Don't force yourself. How about this, if I win, can you do something for me?" In fact, it doesn't matter whether Han Ying is his girlfriend or not. Jiang Yu's goal is the marriage certificate. I mean what I say. If you win, I'll be your girlfriend. Don't talk to me about other conditions. Han Ying stared at him, thinking, am I stupid? Helping you with something? That would lead to a lot of uncertainty. Jiang Yu didn't expect her to be so determined. He glanced at Wang Ruoqi. "It looks like you're sure I can't win, right?" "Well, looking at her expression, I guess she has bribed my opponent. Not only does she want me to lose, but she wants me to lose badly. I thought you had some brilliant plan, but this is it." Through the window of the box, he saw the boxers in the ring. Maybe they are very good professional players, but they are definitely not Jiang Yu's opponents. He made the decision and said, "Okay, it's settled." Wang Ruoqi was delighted and immediately urged, "Hurry up and get ready, it's almost your turn. Someone will lead you in outside the door." After Jiang Yu left, Han Ying immediately asked worriedly, "Ruoqi, have you arranged everything? Don't let him win." "Don't worry, the opponent I arranged for him is the disciple of Iron Fist Wang Qi. He thought he was invincible just by beating up a few gym students. Humph, let's see how he dies tonight." A sneer appeared on Wang Ruoqi's lips, as if everything was under her control. Chapter 21. He can still laugh. Although this kind of underground boxing match is not formal, the fact that Wang Ruoqi was able to easily help Jiang Yu sign up for the competition shows that he still has certain skills. While Jiang Yu was changing clothes and getting ready, the host began to liven up the atmosphere. "Dear audience, the next person to appear is very impressive. He has won 13 games in a row. He is Zheng Feng. Wow." Suddenly, there was cheering from the audience, and it was obvious that there were many fans of Zheng Feng. Zheng Feng appeared under the attention of the crowd. He was tall and strong, with well-defined muscles and sharp eyes. He walked around the field, enjoying himself. The audience was discussing, who will Zheng Feng's opponent be? "No matter who it is, just bet on Zheng Feng to win." "I don't think so. Zheng Feng has won 13 fights in a row. The boxing arena will definitely arrange some strong opponents for him. Let's see first." After Zheng Feng came on stage, the host's expression became a little strange. He introduced, "Zheng Feng's challenger this time is Jiang Yu." The introduction of Jiang Yu only has a name, without any title. This is an unfamiliar name, but the audience is quite looking forward to it. But when Jiang Yu came on stage, the whole audience was filled with sighs. TSK. Are you kidding? How dare this kind of bastard challenge Zheng Feng? Is there any need to fight? We can tell the winner at a glance. Place your bets now, it's a no-brainer to bet on Zheng Feng to win. Just as the audience was about to place their bets, the host received the message and immediately said, "Please don't place your bets yet. This game is just an exhibition match." The implication is that betting is not allowed. The people in the boxing ring are not fools. They know at a glance that Jiang Yu will only get beaten up. If he lets others place bets, he will definitely lose everything. Get off, this is a bullshit exhibition match. Get lost, we're not interested in watching an exhibition match. The audience booed, thinking that this was a match without any suspense and nothing to watch. In the box, Han Ying and Wang Ruoqi stood by the window. Wang Ruoqi said proudly, "Han Ying, do you still think that country bumpkin has a chance of winning?" Han Ying breathed a sigh of relief and didn't respond. Wang Ruoqi continued, "I have put a lot of effort into arranging this boxing match. How are you going to thank me after I drive that country bumpkin away?" Han Ying asked, "Do we still need to thank each other?" Wang Ruoqi curled her lips and said, "You pay for all the lunches this semester." Han Ying said cheerfully, no problem. Jiang Yu didn't care about the audience's size. He raised his head and glanced at the box where Han Ying was, and gave a strange smile. Han Ying's heart trembled, and she said anxiously, he can actually still laugh. Wang Ruoqi said disdainfully, he won't be able to laugh in a while. I specifically told Xing Feng about this. Their host felt helpless in the face of this situation and just walked away after saying something about the game starting. Xing Feng and Jiang Yu were the only ones left on the field. They took a few steps forward and looked into each other's eyes. Xing Feng's eyes were very sharp, and he whispered sarcastically, I didn't expect you to really dare to go on stage. When Wang Ruoqi invited him to have this boxing match, he couldn't believe his ears. A country boy dared to come on stage and challenge him. Jiang Yu said calmly, what's there to be afraid of? This is not a sea of fire or a mountain of swords. Har har. Xing Feng sneered, do you know who I am? Not asked. I am the disciple of Iron Fist Wang Qi. Not to mention you, even those professional boxers can't stop my pair of iron fists. Jiang Yu burst out laughing. I thought he was so awesome, but it turns out he is Iron Fist Wang Qi's apprentice. TSK, it's true that brothers fight tigers together, while master and apprentice get beaten together. Jiang Yu's unbridled smile touched Xing Feng's nerves. He felt that it was a provocation to him. At this time, the audience shouted angrily, don't waste your fucking time, hurry up. There's nothing interesting about it. Xing Feng can send that guy to their hospital with just one punch. Faced with the audience's urging, Xing Feng stopped talking nonsense with Jiang Yu and directly punched Jiang Yu in the face. Xing Feng's strength is not exaggerated. This punch was so powerful that it even brought up a gust of wind. Moreover, he attacked very quickly, and ordinary people had no time to react. The audience looked uninterested and thought Xing Feng could end this exhibition match with just one punch. However, Jiang Yu's reaction was unexpected. He just took a side step and dodged Xing Feng's fist. Xing Feng frowned. Jiang Yu's reaction speed was beyond his imagination. After his punch missed, he immediately changed his tactics and hit Jiang Yu in the chest with an elbow. Jiang Yu retreated again, and Xing Feng pressed on step by step. When they reached the edge of the ring, Xing Feng smiled coldly, see where you can hide. Xing Feng leaped up and chopped down with one palm, with great momentum. Veins popped out on his body, and his overbearing power made the audience in the stands tremble with fear. Han Ying in the box suddenly felt compassion and asked worriedly, Ruoqi, Xing Feng wouldn't beat him to death, right? Wang Ruoqi said, don't worry, Xing Feng knows his limits. Although boxing matches are not formal, basically no one will be killed. Xing Feng was indeed sensible. When Jiang Yu had no way to retreat, he could have hit Jiang Yu on the top of his head with his palm, but he moved sideways a little and hit Jiang Yu's left shoulder. Bang! There was a dull thud, and the boxing ring suddenly fell silent. Jiang Yu did not fall to the ground after being struck by Xing Feng's vertical blow. He stood there straight, holding Xing Feng's wrist tightly with his right hand. Xing Feng was so embarrassed that his face turned red, and he couldn't carry out the vertical chop at all. Then, Jiang Yu gave a light push, and Xing Feng staggered backwards and almost fell. No, isn't it? This kid can actually match Xing Feng's strength. If betting was not prohibited in the boxing ring, the audience would definitely think that Xing Feng was fixing the match. The first confrontation immediately made the boxing ring boil. Good. Many people cheered and urged, keep fighting. In the box, Wang Ruoqi frowned, looking annoyed, what the hell is Xing Feng doing? Is it necessary to give in to that country bumpkin? In her opinion, it was not that Jiang Yu was so powerful, but that Xing Feng was letting him go. However, only the person involved, Xing Feng, knew what kind of opponent he was facing. He was secretly shocked. How come this boy is so powerful? Jiang Yu did not dissolve Xing Feng's attack with just a little strength, but he actually used his own power to repel Xing Feng. Jiang Yu raised his eyebrows and glanced at the box where Han Ying was. Suddenly, Xing Feng rushed out and said, boy, don't be too proud too soon. He clenched his fists and burst out with all his strength. His iron fist was his invincible support. He had no reservations, nor did he dare to have any. Chapter 22. You have a plan, I have a ladder. At the beginning, Xing Feng only wanted to teach Jiang Yu a lesson on Wang Ruoqi's behalf, so he didn't try his best. But when he realized how powerful Jiang Yu was, the meaning of the following fight changed. He must fight for his dignity and must not lose. This time Jiang Yu did not dodge. He went forward and also clenched his fists and punched back. Bang! This was a collision of power. Xing Feng's pair of iron fists allowed him to win 13 games in a row. Many opponents trembled when they saw his calloused fists. On the other hand, Jiang Yu, with his delicate and tender hands, was no match for Xing Feng. Snort! Xing Feng let out a muffled groan and kept backing away, finally crashing into the cage of the ring with a bang. His hands were shaking violently, and the indescribable pain caused the corners of his mouth to tremble slightly. But Jiang Yu stood still like a mountain, as if he had taken root and stood firmly in the same place. Comparing the two, it is clear which one is stronger and which one is weaker. After a moment of silence in the boxing ring, there was a burst of warm applause. Well, good fight. There was a burst of applause from the audience. At the same time, some people were secretly rejoicing. You really can't judge a person by his appearance. Yeah, who would have thought this kid is so good at fighting? Fortunately, betting is not allowed on this game, otherwise I would have lost everything. In the box, Han Ying's face was as gloomy as water, and Wang Ruoqi was even more furious. Is Xing Feng crazy? Why doesn't he use his full strength? She still thinks Xing Feng is letting her off the hook. But what happened next completely devastated Wang Ruoqi. Jiang Yu took the initiative to attack, and his punches were so fast that an afterimage almost appeared. Xing Feng's reaction speed was not as good as Jiang Yu's. He instinctively raised his hand to block, but failed and was punched on the left cheek by Jiang Yu. Xing Feng's eyes were full of stars, his mind went blank, and he staggered and fell to the ground with a bang. The audience was stunned. No one expected this result. Didn't Xing Feng lose too quickly? Many people shouted again, Xing Feng, stand up. Everyone hasn't he seen enough? Wang Ruoqi in the private room was so anxious that she stamped her feet, damn Xing Feng, stand up. Han Ying looked ashen and slumped on the sofa. Xing Feng wanted to stand up, but Jiang Yu didn't give him the chance and went straight up to punch him again. Xing Feng could only protect his face with his hands. Jiang Yu's fist hit his arm so hard that he felt his bones were about to break. Before the game started, he thought it would not be an evenly matched match, and it turned out to be just as he expected. However, he didn't expect that he was the one who got beaten. Xing Feng, who had extensive boxing experience, realized that if he continued like this, his hands would be crippled, so he had no choice but to admit defeat. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. When Xing Feng said the three words, surrender, Han Ying felt like she had fallen into hell. What does this mean? It means that she has to be the girlfriend of the bastard who took her virginity. Wang Ruoqi looked at Han Ying, and after a while she uttered a few words, I'm sorry, I didn't expect. Not only did she not expect it, no one expected Jiang Yu to win. The owner of the boxing ring was regretting his decision so much that his intestines turned green. If he had known it would end like this, he should have allowed people to place bets. He would have made a fortune from this boxing match. After Jiang Yu won the game, he immediately came to the box. The atmosphere in the box almost reached freezing point. He smiled brightly and said to Wang Ruoqi, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to pursue Han Ying so easily. This sentence almost made Wang Ruoqi vomit blood. Is this what she meant? It's not good at all. Her purpose was to let Xing Feng teach Jiang Yu a lesson, but who could have imagined that she would push Han Ying into the fire pit? Wang Ruoqi's eyes were full of poison and she was furious but had nothing to say. Jiang Yu looked at Han Ying again and said slowly, you guys won't go back on your words, will you? Wang Ruoqi said, a man's word is as good as gold. Han Ying immediately glared at her, thinking to herself, which side are you on? But we are women and we can go back on our words. Wang Ruoqi changed the subject and put on an expression that said, I don't admit it. What can you do to me? I'm willing to accept the loss. Han Ying suddenly stood up and said something that left Wang Ruoqi dumbfounded. Han Ying, are you okay? Han Ying shook her head, and Wang Ruoqi pulled her out. Wait a minute, Jiang. I want to talk to Han Ying alone. The two girls walked out of the box and closed the door. Jiang Yu stood at the door and pricked up his ears, but heard nothing because it was too noisy outside. He knew that the two women must be plotting something again. 3 minutes later, the two returned to the box, and their mood seemed to have improved a lot. Wang Ruoqi said, don't say we don't keep our word. From now on, Han Ying is your girlfriend. Jiang Yu was not excited at all. He whispered to Wang Ruoqi, let's talk alone. What can I talk to you about? Wang Ruoqi rolled her eyes, but was dragged out by Jiang Yu. Don't touch me, you country bumpkin. After they left, Wang Ruoqi pushed Jiang Yu away in disgust. If you have something to say it now. If you have something to say, fart now. Jiang Yu asked, why did Han Ying agree to be my girlfriend? Wang Ruoqi curled her lips and said, because you are handsome. I want to hear the truth. That's the truth. Don't waste your time with me. Cherish the time you spend with your girlfriend. She obviously had something else in mind. Helpless, Jiang Yu had to use his trump card and took out his mobile phone to open the photo album. If you don't tell me the truth, then this photo may be spread all over Chenyun University tomorrow. You bastard. The photo shows the scene where Jiang Yu threw Wang Ruoqi onto the overbite after she got drunk. You bastard, you took advantage of someone's misfortune. Delete the photo now. Hey, talk nicely. I didn't take advantage of you. You were the one who got drunk and climbed on top of me. I was just helping you record this beautiful moment. You? Why, you still won't tell the truth? This photo of Jiang Yu was like a magic weapon to the proud Wang Ruoqi, and she had no choice but to compromise. Han Ying said that she can be your girlfriend if she admits defeat, but it's common for couples to break up and get back together. She can just break up with you after dealing with you for 3 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes. Jiang Yu's face darkened. You said that I could deal with it for 3 to 5 days, but how contemptuous of you to deal with it for only 3 to 5 minutes. No wonder my mood suddenly improved and I could even laugh. However, you have a plan, but I have a ladder to climb over the wall. Now that I know Han Ying's plan, how can I, the most handsome man in Boki Mountain, be willing to let others manipulate me? He gave a sly smile and turned to walk into the box. Chapter 23, A Kiss Isn't Too Much. Damn it, photos. Wang Ruoqi chased in, but Jiang Yu put the phone in his pocket without saying a word, as if nothing had happened. What photo? Han Ying looked at Wang Ruoqi suspiciously. Wang Ruoqi was embarrassed and stammered, no, nothing. She didn't want anyone except her and Jiang Yu to know about the photo. Do you really want to be my girlfriend? Jiang Yu asked again. Han Ying said firmly, I, Han Ying, am also a principled person, and I will do what I say. Okay then. Jiang Yu sat down next to Han Ying and hugged her shoulders. Han Ying screamed, what are you doing? Jiang Yu chuckled, isn't it okay for lovers to hug each other? No, not too much. Han Ying couldn't even stand it for 3 or 5 minutes and wanted to break up on the spot. There is something I need to tell you, I don't think we are compatible. Woo. Before she could utter the word suitable, Han Ying's mind went blank and she could only make a humming sound. Wang Ruoqi was stunned. She never thought Jiang Yu would be so bold as to kiss her directly. You bastard. Fortunately, Wang Ruoqi was sober and pushed Jiang Yu away. Asshole, you actually took away Han Ying's first kiss. Jiang Yu looked at her dissatisfiedly. Are you meddling too much? How does it bother you if we just kiss as a couple? Han Ying came back to her senses and stared at Jiang Yu with resentment, as if she wanted to eat him. Jiang Yu leaned over and whispered in her ear, you gave me your first time, so why do you care about your first kiss? Besides, we are a couple, so a kiss is not too much, right? Han Ying wanted to pick up a knife and look at him. What is excessive in your eyes? You are. Jiang Yu shook his head and stood up to interrupt Han Ying's words, but, I feel guilty for letting you be with me in this way, so our relationship as a couple should end here. Han Ying's eyes were almost spitting fire. How can you, a shameless guy, still feel guilty? Also, what do you mean by that? Are you going to break up with me? This is clearly my line, okay? Jiang Yu knew Han Ying's plan, so he took the initiative, but he thought that he couldn't be fooled in vain, so he compensated himself with a kiss. Of course, this was Han Ying's first kiss, which was somewhat beyond his expectations. After saying this, Jiang Yu walked away, leaving Han Ying and Wang Ruoqi disheveled in the wind. Wang Ruoqi's eyes were full of guilt. This time she was the one who gave advice to Han Ying, but she didn't expect to end up losing both the wife and the army. Han Ying finally exploded and yelled at the top of her lungs in the box, venting her anger. As soon as Jiang Yu walked out of the club, he was stopped by a middle-aged man in a suit. Little brother, let me introduce myself. My name is Wu Liang. Wu Liang, the name doesn't sound like a good person. Jiang Yu said calmly, are you done? If you are, please make way. Don't leave in a hurry, little brother. Our boss wants to see you. Not interested. Little brother, it's your fortune to be noticed by our boss. If you miss this opportunity, you will definitely regret it in the future. Although I'm handsome, don't treat me as a gigolo. I won't be a gigolo. Jiang Yu spoke righteously and left with a wave of his sleeves. Wu Liang stood there in shock for a moment. What the hell was going on? He quickly chased after him and stopped Jiang Yu again. Brother, don't make it difficult for me. Our boss has been waiting for you for a long time. This is your chance. With your skills, you will definitely be able to make a name for yourself in the future if you follow our boss. Follow your boss. Jiang Yu smiled coldly. I, Jiang Yu, never stay under others. His indifference also made Wu Liang a little unhappy. It's good for young people to have backbone, but they should not be too arrogant. In the whole Tianyan city, there are not many people who dare to refuse my boss. You should think it over carefully. Then from today on, there will be one more person. Jiang Yu walked away. Stop! Wu Liang shouted angrily, and his attitude changed drastically. Young man, don't think you can be arrogant just because you have some martial arts skills. If you dare to take another step forward, do you believe I will break your legs? Oh. Jiang Yu turned around and asked, do you think you are better than Xing Feng? Wu Liang said disdainfully, in the Tianyan City martial arts circle, Xing Feng is nothing. Even his master Wang Qi is not worthy of carrying my shoes. So if you have this ability, why do you still want to block my way? Jiang Yu understood what Wu Liang meant. Wu Liang's boss was impressed by his skills and wanted him to be his personal boxer. Although his words of not being inferior to others were just an excuse, it was absolutely impossible for him, the only descendant of Bo Chishan, to be a thug for others. If I knew about this, I would rush down from Boki Mountain at the speed of a rocket and slap him twice. I'm nearly 50 years old. As the saying goes, young people are better at fighting. I won't be able to fight for many more years. But you are different. You are young and have a bright future. As long as I give you some guidance, you will definitely become the best boxer in Tianyan City. Plus, with the financial support of my boss, it is not impossible for you to go international in the future. As he said this, Wu Liang's fierce expression relaxed a little. He had been observing the changes in Jiang Yu's expression, but was disappointed because he didn't see any expectation on Jiang Yu's face. I'm sorry, my ambition is not to fight in the underground black boxing, and you are not qualified to instruct me. Jiang Yu knew the old man's abilities very well. So far, he had never seen anyone more powerful than the old man. He had been traveling around the world with the old man since he was young, and had met many hidden families. Even the old folks in those families treated the old man with great courtesy. As the saying goes, a good teacher produces good students. Jiang Yu is not a student who is better than his teacher, but at least in terms of martial arts, no one in Tianyan City is qualified to be his teacher. However, Jiang Yu's truth sounded so ignorant to Wu Liang that he was not angry at all. If you don't accept my toast, I have no right to teach you. Wu Liang made a starting stance, took a few steps forward, and performed a wild horse parting mané move. This is very standard Tai Kai. Wu Liang wants to prove his strength with actions, and at the same time teach Jiang Yu, this ignorant young man, a lesson. Wu Liang leaned forward and swung his palm, and Jiang Yu punched out fiercely, bringing up a gust of wind. Bang! When their fists and palms collided, Wu Liang took a few steps back. Feeling Jiang Yu's strength for the first time, he was secretly shocked. After defeating Wu Liang, Jiang Yu said calmly, the martial arts that are widely spread nowadays are mostly routines for strengthening the body. Maybe you are Tai Chi master in the eyes of ordinary people, but to me, you are just a show-off. Wu Liang is considered a highly respected person in Tianyan City's martial arts circle, but now he is being called a show-off, so he is naturally furious. Boy, don't be so arrogant. Wu Liang stepped forward and used the 6 seals and foreclosures move. Jiang Yu sank his energy into his dantian and slowly uttered a few words. Real martial arts is a killing skill. Chapter 24, Young people have no moral principles. Wen Han has never revealed her identity, and she is still in the observation stage of her fiancé. As of now, there is no problem with Jiang Yu's character. But she still didn't intend to reveal her cards. Marriage is no joke. Jiang Yu stared at her for a long time before asking, Boss Wen, you have a lot of connections in Tianyin City, right? Do you know someone named Wen Fuyao? I don't know him. Wen Yihan answered decisively. Boss Wen, you are out of danger now. Can I arrange my time freely? Certainly. Wen Yihan knew that Jiang Yu was looking for him, and he found it interesting to think about it. Boss Wen, can you use your connections to help me find Wen Fuyao? No problem. Seeing Jiang Yu's grateful expression, Wen Yihan's heart was filled with joy. Of course, she didn't want to continue on this topic, lest she reveal her flaws. By the way, how did you know that those three people were in disguise to cause trouble? Because I'm a doctor. Speaking of his profession, Jiang Yu talked freely. Chinese medicine emphasizes observation, auscultation, questioning, and palpation. I have high medical skills, so diagnosis by observation is a piece of cake for me. The Neijing says that where evil gathers, the qi must be weak. People who are truly allergic. Jiang Yu talked a lot of words that they couldn't understand, and when Yihan looked like he was thinking about something. In fact, she knew her fiancé Jiang Yu, and also knew that Jiang Yu was the apprentice of a peerless doctor, but she just didn't think of it for a while. Shushan was a little annoyed and said, Who wants to listen to your nonsense? Get out of here. Mr. Wen still has documents to deal with. She pushed Jiang Yu, and Jiang Yu said seriously, Traditional Chinese medicine is the treasure of our country, but you say it is a mess. I have to have a good talk with you about this. Do you know how many people have been saved by traditional Chinese medicine over thousands of years? Do you know? Bang! Shushan pushed him out, slammed the door shut, and muttered, Why didn't I notice he was such a chatterbox before? Jiang Yu now has free time, so it is impossible for him to stay in the company. He tries to find Wen Yihan. Regardless of whether this engagement can be cancelled successfully, at least we have to find the person first. During the 2 days of the weekend, Jiang Yu posted on the internet looking for someone and asked around, but there was still no news about Wen Fuyao. On Monday, he thought he could get in touch with Han Ying again, so he took a taxi to Tianyin University. During the trip, Han Qiong called him and scolded him, What's wrong with you? Xiaoyin stayed at home for 2 days on the weekend, so why didn't you ask her out for a walk? It's not that Jiang Yu didn't want to, but he knew that Han Ying had lost her virginity inexplicably, so she would be depressed for 2 or 3 days, right? I have my own plans. He didn't tell Han Qiong in detail. By the way, I was just looking for you. Can you help me get a copy of Han Ying's class schedule? Why, you want to take classes with her? What's the point of taking classes for free? Why don't I help you sign up and let you experience college life for real? I tell you, college life is great. No need. Jiang Yu refused directly. He didn't want to accept Han Qiong's favor. The class schedule, right? I'll send it to you later. Oh, by the way, I have some bad news to tell you. I heard that Zhao Shuo has been very aggressive in pursuing Xiaoyin recently. Don't let anyone get there first. Is it Mr. Zhao who is planning to marry into your family? The marriage is just the wishful thinking of my eldest brother and the Zhao family. Xiaoyin doesn't want to be a victim of the business of the two families. However, she changed the subject. If Xiaoyin falls under Zhao Shuo's attack, then you will definitely have no chance. Really? Why do I feel like you're secretly happy? Han Qiong's unhappy voice came from the other end of the phone. Chapter 25, Something seems to be wrong. Han Qiong looked at Jiang Yu with her clear eyes, Because my elder brother doesn't want Yinger to marry you. That's it. Why, you think this reason is not enough? Jiang Yu's face was full of black lines. He took out the silver needle and then used his unique technique to massage Han Qiong. The indescribable feeling of comfort made Han Qiong couldn't help but moan softly. But Jiang Yu did not let his imagination run wild under Han Qiong's moaning. Instead, he became angrier the more he thought about it. Are you helping me because your elder brother doesn't want to? So I'm just a tool you use to fight against your big brother? He was depressed and his attacks became more severe. Ouch! Han Qiong screamed, Why are you pushing so hard? Does it hurt? Of course it hurts. It's important to feel the pain for it to be effective. His strength did not diminish. Han Qiong endured the pain and frowned, Really? But it didn't hurt this much the first time, ouch. Are you questioning my medical skills? Of course not, but you better be gentle, I can't stand it. If you can't stand it, just scream out loud. You? Han Qiong didn't want Jiang Yu to laugh at her, so she gritted her teeth and endured it. After half an hour of massage, Han Qiong was already sweating profusely. Jiang Yu felt a little sorry for her, so he made an excuse that he had something to do and quickly left. Han Qiong lay in bed in pain for a long time before she recovered. She was already hesitating whether to undergo a third treatment. She put on her clothes, fixed her hair, put on a mask and sunglasses, and went to Chenyun City First Hospital. The old man of the Han family is being treated here. In the VIP ward, Han Qianming was furious. What? He's missing? What do you doctors and nurses do for a living? I tell you, if anything happens to my dad, none of you can escape responsibility. 2 doctors and 3 nurses stood in front of Han Qianming, silent. I heard your voice from a long way off. You are a famous entrepreneur in Chenyun City after all. Is it appropriate for you to be so irritable? Han Qiong walked into the ward and criticized Han Qianming. Han Qianming glared at her. You didn't care that the old man was missing, but you blame me instead. Han Qiong said, Dad is missing, why don't you send someone to look for him? What's the point of yelling here? Just at this moment, Vice President Liu Yu came after hearing the news. Don't be angry, Mr. Han. The old man is not missing. He has just been discharged from the hospital. Discharge? Han Qianming was still furious. Liu Yu, you know the old man's physical condition better than me. Can you discharge him? Alas. Liu Yu sighed, I didn't agree at all, but you know the old man's temper. He has made a decision and no one can stop him. Besides, even if he continues to stay in the hospital, he probably won't make it to the end of the month. Why don't you go home and see him? Maybe he's already at home. As doctors, they have seen too many births, aging, illnesses and deaths. Many people who know they are dying are unwilling to stay in the hospital. If anything happens to the old man, I will make sure you guys pay for it. Han Qianming pointed at the vice president's nose and scolded him, then left in a hurry. It was already 11 o'clock in the evening when Jiang Yu left the hotel. He wandered the streets like a ghost. He is no longer Wen Yihan's personal bodyguard, so it is naturally impossible for him to live in Wen Yihan's house anymore. He didn't want to stay in a hotel because the cost was too high. He felt that he couldn't stay in Chenyun City for too long, and he didn't want to rent a house. He also earned some money from Wen Yihan, but he planned to save it first. After all, he had to go somewhere else after finishing his business in Chenyun City, so he saved some money for emergencies to avoid making any more jokes. Fortunately, it was midsummer and the night was not cold. Jiang Yu could just find a bench and spend the night. The park is lush and green, with plenty of benches. The only unpleasant thing is the many mosquitoes. There was no one in the park in the middle of the night. Apart from homeless people like him, basically no one would hang around in the park late at night. Hey! Suddenly, he heard a noise. He looked in the direction of the sound and found a white-haired old man practicing Tai Chi in the park in the middle of the night. Jiang Yu looked carefully and the old man did not look like a martial artist. If he was someone who had practiced martial arts for many years, perhaps some of them would have the habit of practicing boxing in the middle of the night. But it's obvious that the old man is just an amateur, practicing Tai Chi just to keep fit. The most important thing is that the old man was panting, and under the dim lights of the park, you could see that his face looked a little sallow. This is an old man in his twilight years, and time seems to be taking his life at any time. In his current state, sitting quietly for a while is better than anything else. But the old man was very stubborn. He seemed to think that 2 of the movements were not standard and kept practicing them over and over again. Jiang Yu felt very strange and watched for a while. Suddenly, the old man's body swayed and he was about to fall to the ground. Jiang Yu was quick-witted and rushed over to support the old man. Given the old man's physique, if he fell down, he would have to treat the whole village to a meal tomorrow. Jiang Yu helped the old man sit down on the bench next to him. The old man's breathing seemed very rapid, and it took several minutes for his breathing to become stable. Thank you, young man. After taking a deep breath, the old man expressed his gratitude. Jiang Yu waved his hand to show his politeness. He asked curiously, Grandpa, it's so late. Why are you here practicing Tai Chi alone? With your health, aren't you afraid that your family will worry about you? The old man smiled and said, I've been lying in the hospital for a long time. I've been wanting to move around for a long time. But there should be at least someone watching you. If I hadn't moved slower just now, you might have. It doesn't matter. I don't have many days to live anyway. Hearing this, Jiang Yu looked at the old man. His face was dull, his pupils were lifeless, and there seemed to be a white line entering his ear from his forehead. The old man didn't have any serious illness, but his life was coming to an end and he would soon die. Fate is predestined. As a miracle doctor, Jiang Yu can cure those suffering from stubborn diseases, but he cannot save people like the old man. Birth, aging, sickness and death are the normal state of life, and Jiang Yu has long been accustomed to it. No wonder the old man doesn't care about his own life or death. Grandpa, you can't say that. Although you don't care, your family may not think so. No matter how many days you have left to live, at least your family hopes to spend the last moments of your life with you. You are quite talkative, young man. What's your name? Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu. The old man was startled. Are you from Boki Mountain? Old man, do you recognize me? Since you are the disciple of Dr. Zhang, can you help me? The old man seemed a little excited, but Jiang Yu shook his head and interrupted him. Old man, it's not that I don't want to help you, but your life is coming to an end, and I really can't do anything. I don't want to live a few more years. I. The old man was so excited that he lost his breath and passed out. Fortunately, there was a miracle doctor next to him. Jiang Yu gave the old man some pointers, which helped him to breathe again, but the old man didn't seem to be waking up. Jiang Yu's face was full of misery, as if he was in trouble. Chapter 26. Am I not a bitch? Things are unpredictable. If something happens to the old man at Jiang Yu's hands and he encounters those unreasonable family members, the money he has on him will not be enough to pay for the compensation. But doctors are kind-hearted, and Jiang Yu couldn't just leave an old man who was dying and unconscious in a deserted place. He is young and strong, so it would be fine for him to spend one night in the park, but the old man is in poor health. If he spends a night here, the Swanner will probably have to be played tomorrow. In desperation, Jiang Yu could only carry the old man and find a place to stay. The Galaxy Hotel is a hotel under the Han Group and is also considered the most high-end hotel in Chenyan City. Jiang Yu passed by this place holding the old man in his arms, and forgot to look at the flashing neon sign, feeling a little hesitant. Staying in a hotel like this would cost at least 500 or 600 yuan a night. But in the end, Jiang Yu still walked in resolutely. Old man, this is a bargain for you. Since you don't have many days left to live, I'll let you stay in a high-end hotel. Jiang Yu talked to himself and walked to the counter. The hotel receptionist was a young girl, and when she saw Jiang Yu holding a skinny old man in his arms, she immediately drooped her face. Hello, please get a room. Jiang Yu handed over his ID card, but the girl at the front desk said with a stern face, go to the hospital for treatment. The old man's health is not good, but I am a doctor, he will be fine. What nonsense are you talking about? Get out of here. What's your attitude? Jiang Yu's face darkened and he felt a little unhappy. The girl at the front desk glared at him and said, what's wrong with my attitude? You brought such an old thing to our hotel. What if he dies here? She rolled her eyes and continued in a sarcastic tone, there are all kinds of people these days. They are crazy about money, right? She thought Jiang Yu did this on purpose, wanting the old man to die here and then blackmail the hotel. You look so quiet, but why do you speak so harshly? Do I need to be polite to someone like you? I'll say it again, get out of here or I'll call security. Do you believe I'm going to sue you? Complain? Okay, do you want me to call our manager over for you? I'm telling you, don't try this on me. Our Galaxy Hotel is part of the Han Group. Han Group. A smile appeared on Jiang Yu's face. Since it was Han Group's property, it would be easy to deal with. At this moment, the lobby manager came over and angrily asked the front desk, why are you making so much noise in the middle of the night? Is this how you treat guests? The receptionist pouted at Jiang Yu and whispered, manager, look, that guy brought a dying old man to stay in the hotel. Isn't it obvious that he wants to blackmail us? If we let them stay and the old man dies here at night, not only will our hotel have to pay compensation, but it will also be very unlucky. The lobby manager glanced at the old man in Jiang Yu's arms and felt a sense of déjà vu. But he couldn't remember it for a moment, and felt unlucky, so he shouted, get out, get away. Jiang Yu didn't argue with them. He took out his phone and dialed Han Qiong's number. Why are you calling me so late at night? I'm busy. Han Qiong on the other end of the phone was still looking for the old man and speaking very quickly. Sister Qiong, don't hang up the phone. The word, Sister Qiong, actually aroused Han Qiong's interest. Why, are you having trouble? It's a little difficult. I'm at the Galaxy Hotel under your Han Group, but your lobby manager won't let me stay, so I want to. Is that all? Han Qiong said unhappily, you are the only successor of Bo Chishan, and you can't even handle such a small matter. Give the phone to the lobby manager and I will talk to him. Jiang Yu walked straight towards the lobby manager. The lobby manager felt unlucky and took 2 steps back, scolding, you are still excited, right? Stand there. Jiang Yu handed the phone over, answer it. His confident look confused the lobby manager, who involuntarily reached out to take the phone. Who? It's me, Han Qiong. I heard that you won't let him stay. The lobby manager was confused for a few seconds, then looked at the call notes, which showed that it was written as Sister Qiong. Jiang Yu said calmly, why, can you arrange for me to stay now? The lobby manager came back to his senses and suddenly sneered, har har, do you think I'm a 3-year-old kid? I just made a random call and said I'm President Han. He put the phone to his ear and sneered, don't act so high and mighty in front of me. You are Han Qiong, and I am Han Qianming. Now it was Han Qiong on the other end of the phone's turn to be confused. You're really brave enough to talk to me like that. Han Qiong on the other end of the phone was furious. Who are you talking to, you bitch? I don't have time to argue with you. The lobby manager threw the phone directly to Jiang Yu. I'll give you 10 seconds, get out of here right now, or don't blame me for being rude. Jiang Yu was stunned for a moment, thinking that this lobby manager was too awesome that he even ignored Han Qiong. He wanted to say a few more words to Han Qiong, but the line was disconnected with a beep. In less than 10 seconds, the lobby manager's phone rang. He picked it up and looked at it, his expression suddenly changed and he instantly became respectful. Hello, Mr. Han, why are you calling me in the middle of the night? Han Qiong called the lobby manager directly. The lobby manager had a fawning look on his face. Although Han Qiong was not in front of him, he still nodded and bowed. Han Qiong's furious voice rang out over the phone, Boss Han? Am I not a bitch? Boss Han, are you kidding me? Who dares to say that you are a dead man? Halfway through his words, the lobby manager suddenly looked like he was crying. Boss Han, just now, was it really you? The lobby manager regretted his decision so much, who could have thought that the poor-looking boy was actually Han Qiong's friend? Bang! In order to keep his job, the lobby manager slapped himself in the face with a loud and clear sound. I'm sorry, Mr. Han. I really didn't know it was you. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I'm very busy now. I'll deal with you later. Let me arrange for my friend to stay here first. Mr. Han, you don't understand the situation very well. The lobby manager walked aside and whispered, covering his mouth, Mr. Han, it's not that we don't want your friend to stay here, but your friend is carrying a dying old man. If something unexpected happens, it will have a big impact on the hotel. He spoke with the overall situation in mind, but who would have thought that he would be stunned by Han Qiong's words? Even if he's holding a dead person, you should treat him like a guest of honor. The lobby manager was almost in tears. Han Qiong's words fully demonstrated the noble status of Jiang Yu. Not only did the lobby manager offend Han Qiong, he felt that he had also offended someone of a higher status. No one knew the content of the lobby manager's call. The front desk clerk was still reminding him, Manager, this guy is not leaving yet. Do you want to call security? The manager lost his temper on the spot. Call your mother's security. Chapter 27, Broken Needle returns. In the end, Jiang Yu checked in smoothly and was arranged in the highest standard presidential suite. The lobby manager's attitude towards him also changed 180 degrees, and he almost became Jiang Yu's grandson. There was no other way. He still wanted Jiang Yu to say a few good words for him so that he could keep his job. It was also Jiang Yu's first time to stay in the presidential suite. It was extremely luxurious and the view was beautiful. From the window, he could see the entire night view of Chenyang City. It's great to have money. Standing by the window, Jiang Yu sighed like this for the first time. Just by knowing a rich Han Qiong, he enjoyed such treatment. No wonder people often say that the happiness of rich people is beyond your imagination. The old man slept for about an hour and finally woke up. He looked around and asked in an old voice, Where is this? Master, are you awake? Jiang Yu walked over quickly. This is the presidential suite of the Han Group. How is it? Luxurious, right? The old man nodded, but staying here for one night should cost a lot of money, right? You just came out of the mountains and don't have much savings. Why are you spending so much money? It's okay, just consider it as a good deed. We should enjoy ourselves once in our lifetime, right? In fact, he didn't say the most important thing. Because it was Han Qiong's arrangement, the lobby manager didn't dare to collect the money. Otherwise he wouldn't spend thousands to stay here for one night. Jiang Yu helped the old man up and asked, Grandpa, you must be hungry. I'll ask someone to bring some food over. Don't worry, let's talk about my business first. Old man, it's not that I won't help you. With my current ability, I'm not at the point of asking the king of hell for help. You are the only disciple of Dr. Zhang. I believe in your medical skills. It's useless for you to believe it. The key is that I don't believe it. I didn't want to live a few more years or months, but at least I have to live until the 3rd day of next month. But my body, I'm afraid I won't be able to hold out until then. Fortunately, I met you on the 3rd day of next month. Jiang Yu stroked his chin and thought he could buy this little bit of time for the old man. Old man, what day is the 3rd day of next month? Is it important to you? The 3rd day of next month is my birthday. Jiang Yu was speechless. It was not right for an old man of such age to care about these things. The old man seemed to see through his thoughts and continued, some time ago, my son told me to take good care of myself so that he could celebrate my birthday on the 3rd day of next month and arrange a marriage for my granddaughter. I can't see my granddaughter getting married, but I have to wait until the day she gets engaged. That's all I want. Can you help me? I can try. Do you need any precious Chinese herbal medicine? No, your body is now in good condition. Nothing you eat will help except the magic pill. Then how can you help me? Wait a moment, old man. Jiang Yu hurried downstairs, walked 3 streets to find a pharmacy that was still open, and bought some silver needles. When the silver needle was placed in front of the old man, he asked excitedly, Are you going to give me the 7-star life-sustaining needle? Hey, old man, you actually know about the 7-star life-sustaining needle. This is the secret of our Boki Mountain. I was fortunate enough to see Dr. Zhang use it. Jiang Yu's master had saved countless lives throughout his life, so it was not surprising that the old man had seen him, so Jiang Yu did not think too much about it. He said, extending life is an act against heaven, and cannot be performed lightly. The acupuncture method I am going to use on you is called broken needle returning light. What's the saying about a broken needle reflecting light? This kind of acupuncture is only suitable for people who are about to die. Anyone who receives this acupuncture will be like a dying person within half a month. What about half a month later? He will definitely die. Jiang Yu looked at the old man and asked, Grandpa, have you thought it through? The old man's eyes were a little dazed, and he said to himself, half a month is enough for me to last until the 9th day of next month. Then, he nodded firmly at Jiang Yu, thank you for your help. The broken needle return technique is not complicated, with only 3 needles in total. 1 needle at Baihui point, 1 needle at Fengkai point, and 1 needle at Renaying point. Each time the needle is inserted into the acupoint 3 inches, it is rubbed for a quarter of an hour, then pulled out 2 inches and then the needle is removed. Jiang Yu's technique of breaking the needle was very skillful. A white blush rose on his fingertips and the old man felt a warmth on his skin. Jiang Yu pinched the silver needle with his fingers and gave it a slight tremor. The silver needle broke by itself, and the broken end was flush with the skin. The old man, who originally had a dull face and lifeless eyes, suddenly became full of energy, just like the last glimmer of life of a dying person. I suddenly feel a little hungry. The old man said cheerfully that although he knew he would die in 15 days, he was still very happy. Jiang Yu immediately called the waiter to bring some food, which was very rich. After all, they were staying in the presidential suite. Xiaoyu, come here. The old man's address to Jiang Yu became much more friendly, so Jiang Yu sat next to him and watched quietly. I have a humble request, said the old man. You say, old man. You must be there on my birthday on the 3rd day of next month. Grandpa, your family is enjoying their family happiness, so I won't join in, right? You gave me this opportunity, so of course you have to be there. Besides, this birthday party can't be held without you. Master, what you said is serious. Jiang Yu didn't know when he had become so important. But it was hard to refuse the old man's kindness, so Jiang Yu finally agreed. The old man asked for his phone number and said he would notify him when the hotel was booked. The two of them chatted about everything under the sun until 3 in the morning, before falling asleep one after another. Jiang Yu got up at 9 o'clock in the morning and found that the old man had left. After asking, he learned that the old man had passed away at 6 o'clock. The old man slept only 3 hours. He only has the last half month left, and will fall into eternal sleep after half a month, so he doesn't want to waste the remaining time sleeping. Jiang Yu just regarded this incident as an episode in his life and left the hotel to continue his plan of breaking off the engagement. Perhaps good things happen to good people. He helped an old man last night and received good news today. Someone online responded to his post, saying that he knew someone named Wen Fuyao. Jiang Yu was overjoyed and immediately found the person who replied. The man's name was Yang Wei. He was in his 20s and worked on a construction site. Since he couldn't leave, Jiang Yu came to find him in person. Jiang Yu was lucky and didn't meet anyone who wanted to cheat him out of his money. Yang Wei was busy with work and had asked for 10 minutes off, so he didn't try to beat around the bush with him. When I was in my hometown, I had a neighbor whose daughter was named Wen Fuyao, but her family moved away more than 10 years ago. Do you know where they live now? I don't know, but you can go to my hometown and ask. It seems that Wen Fuyao has a relative there. Can you call and contact me? I'm sorry, I left my hometown after my parents passed away 7 years ago. I don't have many relatives there, so I don't have any contact information for people there. Finally, Yang Wei gave Jiang Yu the address of his hometown. Jiang Yu wanted to give him a few hundred yuan as a thank you fee, but Yang Wei refused. Yulong Village, Qingping Township, this is the address of Wen Fuyao's hometown. Jiang Yu was eager to break off the engagement, so he set out on his journey directly.